Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So we've got the live as usual, but we're gonna have a special guest featuring tonight, and I'll bring him on very shortly. I'm just a special guest. So we've just sent him the invite. So let's see when he turns up.
Who is it?
It's the Green Wizard.
Green Wizard. Cool. Ooh, Ninja Kids.
Okay, so let me just see who is on our stream with us.
Superhero Kids. Ooh, and Ninja Kids again.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to go now.
Okay.
That's it. Off you go.
How much did you say?
Off you go. Off you go.
I listen. I'm listening, Khadija. Bye.
Let's see who is. Dean, how are you doing, mate? Grant, how are you doing? Thank you very much for popping in. I can just about see the chat now. Let me mute this so I can see what's going on. No, I need that on. I need to mute that. There we go. Yeah, absolutely be gone, children. So we've got the Green Wizard coming on with us. I've just sent him the link, so I'm just waiting for him to reply back and join us. So that should be a nice treat for us once he turns up. How is everyone today? So we've got Brandon, we've got JJ, we've got Grant, we've got Dean. Everyone's here. We've got 11 people. That's awesome. Minor en route to bed. Now, I think with the heat today, it's going to be hard to get them settled today. I had a drink here filled with ice, and I think they might have just swiped it. Let me just see what's going on. There it is. There it is. So I'm just waiting for Mr. Wizard to turn up. Let's get these headphone things ready as well, just in case. Me and technology, we're always a little bit at odds with each other. Nick Jones 74, how are you doing? Thank you very much for popping in. Bounty Hunter, hello, I'm from the Wizards channel. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much for coming along. That's very kind. I'm just trying to find a hole to stick my headphones in. Let's see if that works. Is the Wizard here yet? So I've sent him the link. I'm just waiting for him to reply. So he's got the link. I'm just waiting for him to turn up. Bobby McNuts here. How are you doing, mate? Green Wizard is on his way. How'd you turn these things on? Is there an on button somewhere? Elegant Homestead's here. Homestead Tessie's here. Thank you very much. Look at this. We've got an awesome house in tonight. I'm still trying to figure out how to turn my headphones on, though. Which button's the on button? Green Wizard's here. I've sent you a link on your email for the Google Hangouts.
Yep, I've got it. I'm in the room.
You're here? Ah, okay. Let's see. How do we turn these things? I can't.
Hi, everybody.
How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing great. How about yourself today?
So let me just give you guys the format of tonight's show. It's going to be slightly different to how we've been doing it in the past. Like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, what we're going to be doing from now on is we're going to start bringing on guests once, and they can feature. We'll do an interview with them, and that's open to any channel. Whoever wants to come on, you're more than welcome to drop me a message, and I'll bring you on, and we'll do an interview with you, and you can showcase your channel. But today we've got a very special guest. He's an author, He's been in the field of permaculture for a while. He's an expert in improving soil fertility. Unlike me, I'm not an expert in trying to get these headphones to turn on. I'm still trying to figure that out. But my friend Ron, he's an expert in soil fertility. He's an author of the Green Wizard's Guide. So we're going to, without any further ado, I'm not going to delay it any longer. I'm going to hand it over to the main man and bring him in, and we can go and fire away with some questions at him. And what we'll do is we'll talk about Ron. We'll talk about his background. We'll talk about his book. And we'll probably do that for the first hour of the show ish, and then we'll open it up for some questions. And as long as Ron's happy to go, we'll keep him here and we can fire some questions at him. But we'll try and keep to that order, and I'll break away and say hello to people. So if I miss anyone coming in, please forgive me. But we've got to focus on our guest today. So without any further ado, let's welcome Ron on.
Hey, hi everybody. Hi Elegant. Hi family, friends. Homestead Tessie, Bobby's in there. I see a whole bunch of our good friends in here.
It's absolutely brilliant. We've got 18 people already. We've got 7 likes. Someone's hit a dislike for me. That's nice of them.
Well, I probably brought them over from Bobby's. I'm sorry about that.
That's not a problem at all. I can live with that. So, Ron, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, guys, I'm 52 years old. Got into a bunch of different careers, mainly stayed in security, armed security here in the United States for 30 years. Way things are going, I got out of that. But in the meantime, while I was doing a lot of that stuff, I've grown up with gardening my whole life. My grandfather was into it. My father was into it. And when I finally got out of the apartment maintenance world and got into my own house, yeah, I had forgotten a lot of the stuff that is in the book. And after spending, well, you know, it's a frightening number, but and I don't know what it would work out to in UK. But I spent probably a good $25,000 in chemicals destroying my yard and becoming the weed master. When I finally woke up to it, when attempting to garden, things turned around in massive, massive scales. And everybody kept asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? What's the difference? You were weed king. What did you change? And I kept telling them and telling them and telling them. And it was such a long, drawn out way of telling them that I could see them glaze over as I explained. I was just doing it the organic way. I was going back to my grandfather's knowledge, back to my father's knowledge. At which point I finally decided, hey, it's time to write a book. To put it down in terms that everybody can understand, and just hand them the book and say, here's what I'm doing. This is the process, so you can understand it. Because it, just like one of your guests was saying, it's not about feeding the plants. It's about feeding the soil. Well, that's yes and that's no, because there's a microscopic world in there that nobody's paying any attention to. And when you feed the microscopic, everything else explodes. And your soil will become topsoil, and thank you for it in the production coming out of your gardens. So that's kind of where this book came from. If you wouldn't mind giving Bobby McNutt a wrench real quick, he'll run the web page for me, the Green Wizard's Guide web page. He'll just pop up that that URL. It's greenwizardsguide.com, everybody.
It's
For
done.
those of you wondering.
Bobby, if you can run that link for us, that'll be great. So how long did it take you to write the book? And when
It was a 5-year project.
See, I read the story about you becoming the weed master.
Right.
What was it? What was it that you were doing that
I was using chemicals.
Title is the
I
weed
was
master.
using the stuff out of the grocery stores and doing more damage than good to my yard. And as my knowledge progressed and as my experience progressed, uh, sorry, I got it. Whoa, what did I do? My bad. I'll fix it. I got it.
I don't know what's happened. Okay. Okay. We can you hear can everyone hear us? Okay. Ron, can you hear me quite
Yeah,
clear?
I hear you just fine. Yeah, it was on my side. I opened up a second window trying to grab a web page address and screwed things up on my side.
Ah, okay. Um, so Venom Records is saying he thought he was the weed master. I think he's talking about a different kind of weed though.
Yeah, right, right. No,
um,
what I'm referring to is Mother Nature, in her wisdom and in her way. She's been doing this for 4 billion years. Um, she has designed all sorts of different plants, not weeds, plants that will restore your soil. As you mess things up, Mother Nature will send in her troops to restore and fix the soil. Our problem is we keep going out there with these chemicalized weed killers trying to stop Mother Nature from fixing our soil. So what's going to end up happening is everything's going to get worse and worse and worse. And the more chemicals I dumped on my yard, the worse the problem got. The weeds kept coming back stronger and stronger. Mother Nature trying to regain my yard. As soon as I stopped trying to kill the weeds, the whole yard turned around in days.
when you say
And
chemical,
the other
are
direction.
you talking about pesticides and herbicides, or are you talking about chemical
Absolutely
fertilizer?
stay away from them. They are the worst thing you could do.
Okay, I mean, when you say what the chemicals that you were using, were they herbicides and pesticides, or were
Yeah,
they?
they just you've got your standard four set. You've got your feed in the spring, then you've got your weed in feed, then you've got your pesticide, then you've got another feeding at the end of the season. There's your four batteries that you're slamming your yard with that's doing nothing but screwing things up. Uh,
Mm.
greenwizardsguide.com, Bobby, the actual web page. So as I was finding out, as you put more of these chemicals down, and basically, in real simple terms, everybody, when you dump oil in your yard and you put a chemical in your yard, you're stopping the food web because the food web can't survive that. And the more you put these pesticides down, and the more you put these so-called synthetic feeds down, you're hurting the food web. Stop doing it. Just stop and you'll see a change. Stop believing what they're selling. They're professional salesmen. Stop and watch your yard change. I mean, I've seen your garden and I see how easy you go in there with your pitchfork and just crack the soil open. That's the way it's supposed to be all over the planet. It's not supposed to be clay, everybody. It's not supposed to be a quarter-inch of topsoil and then clay. Stop. Just
See,
stop using chemicals and watch the change. Mother
we,
Nature will help you.
we've we've talked about some of the plants in the past that help break up that clay soil. So things like dandelions, things like dock, things like anything with those huge tap roots.
Right.
Um, now,
Absolutely.
what would be your advice on having dandelions in the lawn, or having things like clover in the lawn, or having? Would you just go for? If someone wanted just a purely grass lawn, what would you recommend? What would your advice be?
Cut your grass at 2 inches. Do not mess with the weeds and just take the flowers off the top of them. Now, you're lumping in, and I just want to correct you slightly. Don't misunderstand what I'm going to say. Um, you're lumping in clover. Don't Clover does not do anything to the soil. It adds nitrogen. If you've got clover, leave it alone. If you want to add more nitrogen so that you can get rid of the clover, use coffee grounds. amp up the nitrogen naturally. You don't need to get rid of clover. Clover is a air-breathing, air-surviving plant only that only takes water out of the soil and leaves nitrogen behind. But the other ones that you're talking about, yeah, absolutely. You need to break up the clay. You can use Epsom salt from Epsom, England, and that's in the book, guys. Um, and it will soften the clay and allow weaker plants, not like our dandelions, to open up the soil and start allowing things to happen and allow Mother Nature to get in there.
So when you say Epsom salt, that's magnesium chloride. It's not sodium chloride. So don't get the two mixed up because the sodium will. Yeah.
We don't want sodium in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah, the sodium will damage your plants, whereas magnesium is actually good for your plants. So be careful that you don't add ordinary table salt to your plants.
Right. Well, now, if you've got nothing but a rock bed and you want nothing but a rock bed, all right, maybe a little bit of table salt wouldn't hurt, but
eventually that'll wash into the water table, right?
Right, it'll go right into the water table. It'll get out into your soil. It'll stop the food web. It'll do more harm than good in the long run. That's just like this this product Roundup. We're all hearing about Roundup, Roundup, Roundup. It is terrible. Once that gets into the water table, you can't get rid of it. It's a nightmare product. And even the water company and all their filtration and what have you, it is one of the worst things they've ever run into, and it destroys equipment. Stay away from Roundup. Stay away from these chemicals, everybody. They're not helping anything. They're just hurting the food web, causing the greenhouse situation that we currently have. You're 100 degrees over there right now. I feel so bad for you guys in the UK, but it's this greenhouse situation. If we don't do something to correct it immediately, it's going to get worse.
Just for some house, I just ask a couple of my mods. If anyone wants to fire away with questions, Dave, Mike, Erwin, if you could just take a note of the any questions that people have for us, and when we open the floor up for questions, if you can fire those questions back at me, and then we'll fire them at the Green Wizard and get him to answer some of our questions for us. So if I could ask, Dave, Erwin, Mike, if you can do that for me, just keep a note of questions while I'm. It's a little bit hard for me to keep track of it. So if you could help me out that way, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And if anyone hasn't hit that like for me, please hit that like as you're coming in. And those of you who have just come in, I'll remind you that we've got a special guest on tonight. It's not our usual show. We've got our special guest, the Green Wizard, author of the Green Wizard's Guide. And it's all, we're in a privileged position to be able to milk him for some advice. So you don't, in your book, you don't focus on plants. You focus a lot on soil. And
Right.
One of the things I was reading about is how you recommend cutting at different times of the day, how you don't recommend cutting during the heat of the day. So how would you apply that, not just to grass, because we've got quite a few veg growers here, a few homesteaders. So how would you take it?
Well, when you're actually harvesting, just keep in mind that the stuff that's underground and in the soil, you probably don't want to expose those areas to the direct sunlight. You want to kind of do those in the shadows. Um, so you kind of want to be doing that in the evening or early in the morning when the shadows are casting across your gardens, because the food web itself, where all of your products and produce are growing underground, those areas don't see sunlight, and when they do, you harm them. That's like they talk about crop rotations. Don't do it. Leave the food web alone. If you can leave roots behind, leave them. Don't pull the roots out. Um, as far as like your tomato plants and your corn crops and what have you, they're used to sunlight. They can handle that. So go ahead and harvest during the daytime. Won't be an issue. But when we're talking about the soil and the food web, that's the area we're trying to protect. That's why when you cut your grass, I recommend that you do it early in the morning before 10 o'clock, before the heat of the day, or later in the evening. And you never water in the morning. You only water at night when everything is growing, including your garden.
See, right, that's another interesting thing you mentioned there, that the plants actually grow at night. Whereas a lot of traditional literature around when plants grow is they, a lot of them tend to suggest that they do a lot of the photosynthesis during the day and they'll grow actually a lot during the day. And that's when the peak growing is. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I kind of lean the other direction because depending on how hot it is, a plant will not grow. It'll actually run its stimulus into the ground and into its roots and run deeper to help cool the plant off. Um, so yeah, you do have some plants, some of your legumes, your peas, what have you, that will grow and run in growth spurts depending on the temperature and the time of day, and they will grow during sunlight hours. But you're going to find a lot of your growth and a lot of your potential happens more so at night. Watch your tomatoes. You get a heavy rain, and you're not going to see any difference in your tomatoes till the next morning because it grows overnight. So just watch Mother Nature. She'll tell you which plants do and which plants don't.
See, again, let me just pick up on one of the things that you said a few minutes ago, is keeping the soil covered. Now, what would you recommend for using as things like mulch? What would you recommend? Mulching? Would you recommend growing crops that will cover the soil? Which way would you tend to go,
I
especially
would I would say
in an
for
annual vegetable garden?
every square inch of space that you have in your actual garden bed, grow another plant. Whether you're going to be growing clover to feed the nitrogen back into the soil, or whether you're just there to protect, or whether you're there to, because there's so many different plants that do so many different things. But I would strongly recommend that you grow 2 or 3 other plants alongside your main crop so that you're either feeding the soil or you're growing a secondary crop so that your soil is always in the shade, always in the shadows. If you're going to be mulching, nothing green, nothing fresh. Get in there with your leaves. Get in there with, you can even use wood chips. I don't recommend them because depending on the type of wood or if they chemicalize, they color them all bad because you don't want to disturb the food web. Disturbing the soil as least as possible is the best. When you're showing soil, you're killing off the food web and causing the problem. You will get
See,
better production and thanked more by your soil for leaving it moist and leaving it in the shadows and leaving it covered.
um, I'm going to take where you just mentioned wood chips there. I'm going to take some advice for myself. While I'm going to hog you for a second. Um, Now, we've had some really funny weather in the UK in June. For the first 3 weeks of June, it's been nothing but rain. In Leeds, we've had rain every single day for the first 3 weeks of June. So much so my butts collapsed last week because they were that full with rain. The whole area just collapsed under the pressure of the water. Um, Now, my soil at the moment is completely sodden. It's still squelching. We've had 2 days of sun. Today is the hottest day of the year so far, and we've had the soil still squelching. Now, what I tend to do is I mulch heavily in the winter, and I'll mulch with a combination of horse manure. I'll mulch with a combination of compost and wood chips, and I'll lay that onto my beds 4 or 5 inches thick, and let that break down over the course of the winter until I'm ready to plant in May, June-ish. Now,
Awesome. Great practice.
now I planted my squash and my sweet corn. I did like I put a video out yesterday as part one of my Three Sisters planting method. So I planted my squash, my sweet corn, and my beans together, and I did that on the 6th of June. But since then, we had 3 weeks of non-stop rain. Now, in order to try and help dry out the soil, what I've done is I've uncovered some of the mulch because the plants were suffocating with all that water in the soil. So I've peeled back some of that mulch just so I can get the evaporation going to help dry up the soil. Now, what's your opinion on that?
I would be looking at getting some deeper running roots and opening up your soil. getting that topsoil deeper, because you're fighting a clay problem. If you're sitting under moisture and you're sitting in water, you've got a surrounding problem around your garden as well.
When we took this property on about 8 years ago, it was completely, we had like half an inch of topsoil, and then once you got past that, it was yellow. The clay was so thick, it was yellow.
Solid clay, right?
So it was completely horrible. If it rained, you'd actually be walking through you'll be ankle deep in water. So what we did was we dug some channels. We dug a few swales and we built our bed for them. But at the same time, we've dug channels going the opposite direction for drainage. We lined those with timber and let them break down over the course of the 8 years. But they're still acting as drains, for the water.
Right.
And then where the water drains into, we planted trees. So we planted apple trees, pear trees, cherry trees, all down the sides where the water's going to drain into, so the trees can benefit. Now, the soil's not perfect. It's come a long way, but even now, we're still encountering this problem. So I think it's going to take another few years before that soil gets to a position in a couple of my beds, in a position where I can actually dig it like I want to. Or I don't tend to dig if I can help it. But what do you think of the method that I've employed there?
I think you're on the right track. I think that you're missing the uh, Epsom salt amendment. You need to get that down against that yellow and get that stuff to start breaking down, so that as the roots come in contact with it, as the water comes in contact with it, as the food web comes in contact with it, it's going to open things up. Part of your problem is what it sounds like is, with the lack of activity of the food web, you don't have a large colony of worms existing in your soil and in your yard to help promote the growth of topsoil. So
we didn't have we didn't have since last year I've started to see a lot of worms returning to the soil. I mean, when I started the garden, we used to dig, and when we dig, we'd be lucky to find one earthworm.
right.
But now I can stick my hand in the soil and I'll come out with 4 or 5 earthworms without any issue. It's But I've only noticed the change really happening in the last year or so, and that's 8 years in the making.
Wow.
It's 6 years. It's 6 years no dig. It's 6 years no dig, but it's 8 years of gardening that I've been constantly adding organic matter, regardless of what it is, whether it's wood chips, whether it's leaves, compost, paper, whatever I could find, chicken manure. But it's 8 years in the making. I mean, the garden was pretty much builder's rubble and a lot of ash in some places.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. I took a dead bed and turned it around in under 3 months. Actually had the worms, what was a 0 worm bed. I had the worms back in it in droves in 2 weeks.
Wow.
It is possible. You can turn your yard around that quickly, following the guide, following the information I provided in the guide.
That's what I was going to just go back to, because you mentioned talking about calling on the worms quite a bit in the book.
Right. As you feed the food web puts off a very small hint of ammonia in the soil, and that's what calls the worms. And they come in droves when they smell that right type of ammonia. You can trigger it early with just a hint of ammonia in your sprays, but be careful. Ammonia can also hurt the food web if you've got too much. But when you sweeten it up and you call them in and you add that hint, just a touch of ammonia, boy, look out. Here come the worms. They're coming to feed.
So when you say adding ammonia, now one of the easiest and most abundant sources of ammonia is adding your own wee. Now, what do you think of someone
Right.
just?
Well, they call it urea here to try and be a politically correct way of saying it. But yes, absolutely. If you spread it out thin enough and you get it out over your yard and over your garden, you're going to call in the worms naturally.
Yeah.
But if they don't come in contact with food, if they don't come in contact with the food web, which is what they're actually after, Even though they'll process everything else they come in contact with, they're going to leave inevitably because they're not running into enough of the food web. They move on somewhere else to try and find it because
Now,
that's what they're actually looking for.
do you care about the type of worms that you're calling in? Would you
Absolutely not. You want anything moving in that soil that's going to open that soil up and aerate for you.
see this is I've seen. I was having a discussion with Jeff Lawton. He's quite a senior figure in the permaculture world on his YouTube channel. Now he was talking about he had like a earth box where he'd compost in the they do vermicompost in the earth box, but it was this plastic container. It was like a big chest, a big plastic chest where they'd add food scraps, and then the food, and then the fertilizer from there would radiate out into the surrounding soil. Um, Now, what I suggested to him was, why not just trench compost, and rather than buy this big chunk of plastic and bury your food scraps into there. And the conversation came up around the type of worms that you're attracting. Now, what he was suggesting was that you need the composting worms, the red wrigglers and the tiger worms, that surface feeders, rather than earthworms that are, because surface feeders, they'll feed at the top, whereas earthworms will feed across horizontally as well as vertically.
Right. You want
Feed,
both. You actually
yeah,
want both. Because what happens, just like with leaves, they've been found 3 feet, 4 feet deep, meaning that when scientists have gone in and done the checking and opened up the soil, they have found full-size leaves dragged into the soil down a worm path where a worm had taken it to overwinter. So it had something to eat during the winter because it's looking for minerals throughout the winter. So it took it below the frost line. So yeah, you want to mix. If you're just composting, you want composting worms. If you're talking about working in your garden where you're adding compost, you're adding manures, your yard itself where you just want grass and what have you growing, you want all the different types of worms coming in. So there is no one specific that you want unless you're running a compost heap. Then you want your composting worms. Otherwise, you want everything coming in because you're going to find that they are going to remineralize, aerate, and do all the things that the food web enjoys and expands through. Understand, a teaspoon, just a teaspoon, can house a mile of any number of forms of the food web. It will be a mile long in measurement under a microscope. Just a teaspoon of topsoil. So these worms are out there helping this life form, the food web, get out there and find what each one of your plants need in exchange for sugar. Because that's what they do. The tomato plants, the carrot plants, the potato plants, they exchange sugar for the minerals they need to be the plants that they are. Hey, Bouncer Slab, long time no see. How you been, buddy?
so
Yes, to say specifically that there is a specific worm we want, it just depends on what you're doing. If you want the overall, no, you want every worm possible coming back into your yard. Because some of those worms and some of the different life forms in that category of worms actually come in and defeat some of the bugs that will come in and attack a plant. They'll come in and actually eat those specific bugs. Mother Nature is incredible in her way. We just have to give her the space and give her the room and take care of her, and she'll take care of us in droves.
one of the things that I saw that Jeff Lawton addressed was that the red wrigglers, their poo is so nutritious that ordinary earthworms will actually feed off their poo, which is
Yep,
why he wants to encourage red wrigglers rather than encourage any other type of worm, because any other type of worm will yeah, once you add worm castings, then they'll follow. But I sort of share your opinion where just whatever life there is, just call it in.
right. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, Monster Slab. You're 100% right. And then somebody else, it was another question asked, pine. It causes an acidity to the soil. So avoid pine bark, pine needles at all costs anytime you're doing any kind of composting or what have you. It's not that they're bad, but look around the base of a pine tree. Nothing grows, including weeds, because it becomes so acidic. Just answering a different question. That's all. Sorry about that.
Not a problem at all. Now, another thing, controversy that I'm coming up with, seeing recently develop is around the use of coffee grounds and the use of spent coffee grounds in compost. Because coffee, there's certain plants that have a natural built-in defense. Be it
All
coffee
plants do, yes.
with caffeine, be it tobacco and nicotine.
Right.
These plants have developed these natural defenses to either compete with predators or to compete with other plants around them. Now, there's some controversy around using coffee grounds in a compost pile, because the recent controversy is that the caffeine in the coffee can still damage your plants, because that's what it's originally there for. It's there to damage their competitors.
Right. Heavily filter. Heavily filter. Meaning, take your coffee grounds, your used coffee grounds, stick them in a stocking, a lady's stocking, or you could probably even use a sock. It wouldn't matter. And run water through it until nothing else is bleeding out of it. Then you have safe coffee grounds or safe tobacco. And go ahead and throw that back into your compost pile. As long as it's not bleeding anything anymore and it has stopped running those chemicals off, it is a viable nitrogen.
Okay. See that's one of the things that now quite a few people have used coffee and without filtering it and used it successfully. So if you think it works, then and you think it's safe, then fine. I'm not going to argue with you, but this would be a recommendation. I mean, I don't use coffee. For me to get access to coffee, I don't use coffee simply because I can't get access to it very easily. Most of the stuff I use in my garden is stuff that I can either generate on my property or I can get delivered to my property for
Right.
free. If I can't get it for free, then I don't want it.
Right, absolutely. Well, that's where I would say go to your coffee houses or go to a McDonald's or something along those lines and offer to take their coffee grounds away. That would be the only place I would get it. Otherwise, yeah, it is a matter of filtering it. Yes, you can let it sit for 30 days. You can let the biomass and the mold start breaking it down and start taking away the toxins, what have you. They will ingest it over time. But do you have that kind of time? If you're letting it sit over winter, the coffee grounds should be just fine. Uh, Again, it's a matter of taste. It depends on how much nitrogen you're attempting to pump out and what you're attempting to do. Um, I strongly lean towards, if you're going to use it, make absolutely certain that it has completely drained itself out. Rinse it thoroughly, and get everything out of it, because there are some acids in it, there are some toxins in it that would slow down a compost. Absolutely. But that's another thing, and that's another huge discussion that a lot of people want to get into, is when you're composting and watching how to compost, watching what to do and how to do, all you're really concerned with is you don't go over 163 degrees. Provided you don't go there, you don't start the microbial life that's going to turn it toxic. So if you can keep it safely under 163 degrees and let it compost, run it. Otherwise, get in there, open the bed up, add moisture, keep your moisture content at 52 to 53%, and never let that thing get over 163 degrees. And you're going to have an incredible compost pile that breaks down instantaneously. It's really fast when it's the right temperature.
See, when you say 160 degrees, you're talking Fahrenheit. I think that's quite a high temperature to try and get to in a lot of compost piles. I mean, I don't get anywhere near. Probably the highest temperature I get to probably is about 70 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
Yeah, and that slows you down a bit. I mean, do you have?
But
I hate the product, but can you get your hands on garden fabric?
That's the thing. I don't cover my compost piles. I leave them open. That's
that would accelerate it just a little bit. That's all. If you've got some sunlight, you can get a black tarp over it. It'll speed it up a bit.
Yeah. Um, 70 degrees Celsius is about 150, 160 Fahrenheit. So, okay. So I'm getting to the I am getting to the temperatures that you're talking about. Um, now, when with your book,
Yes.
as well as focusing on soil, what I don't want you to reveal anything that's in the book without.
Okay.
So, but at the same time, I want to try and tease some information out of the book. So I'm just trying to think of the wording. You've got some, you've got some secrets in there. Can you tease us with a little bit?
Well, pay attention to your minerals, everybody. I know somebody had just typed in there, and I'll answer that real quick, Mark. Uh, when people talk about letting their garden rest and letting nature restore the garden and bring back, or they talk about crop rotation, all of those are, I'm sorry to say, they're brought out by the chemical companies. They're brought out by the 1953 way of doing things. That's where our problem lies, everybody. We just need to put it back. We need to put back what we're taking out. That's it. If we remineralize our soils, all of our plants can thrive continually. You can plant tomatoes on top of tomatoes on top of tomatoes on top of tomatoes endlessly if we're remineralizing the soil. That is a tremendous, tremendous workload off your back, but don't disturb the soil. Just remineralize. You can do that with a pitchfork. Open it up, add the minerals, or in most people's cases, whether it be compost, whether it be even the manures, crack the soil open, pour that stuff down in there. The deeper it goes, the better, and let the soil rest. You don't have to not grow in your garden for a year or move your crops because of these situations. So part of the book and part of revealing what's in the book is remineralizing your soils, everybody. Pay attention to what you're doing. If we're taking it out, there's nothing Mother Nature can do to put it back in. We have to do that. And your garden and your production will triple in its quantity if you have enough of the right stuff in there that that plant is looking for. If the food web doesn't have to work hard, it's going to bring it back even faster, and your plants will thank you for it. They'll also be healthier, and you'll have fewer bug infestations as you've got healthier plants. So mineralization of your soil is extremely important. Pay attention to what you're doing. And Mark, if you're steaming, it depends on the time of day. It depends on the temperatures outside. That's when you start seeing steam. That's when you need to go take your temperature measurements on your compost to answer your question.
See, now when you talk about mineralizing, now you talk about how to mineralize the soil in your book.
Right. You want to be looking at just look at your local leaves and all the different colors of fall. Every one of those colors is a different mineral showing in the leaf of that tree. If you can gather as many of those colors as possible and get them down in your soil, you're remineralizing. If you can get all them different colors in your compost pile, you're remineralizing. If you've got a thriving worm farm growing in your garden, you're remineralizing because they will actually go in and process it and make it bioavailable and make it more readily available to the plants in the food web. That's the process that's going on here, guys. The worms come in to feed on the food web. The worms process the minerals. The food web goes and feeds on the minerals and exchanges it for sugar back to your plants and gives you everything that you were wanting out of those gardens. That's the secret. That's it in a nutshell.
So before we open this up to the floor for questions, is there anything that you'd like to talk about? Is there anything specific that you want to say about the book?
Well, everybody, and we've discussed this on other channels, and we've discussed this, and I appreciate you giving me the chance here to say this. most of you have read books in your lifetime, whether you've read a novel or whether you've read a school book. And you've all come to the point where, oh my God, I'm getting tired of reading in school books. Oh, can't have them, can't be bothered. They're terrible. They're, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I can't follow along anymore. It's putting me to sleep. It's boring. It's this, it's that, it's the other. There are many people here on the channel, Elegant Homestead, Tessie is here, Bobby McNutt, a few others have actually purchased the book and have read this book. This is not that kind of book, everybody. This is a story. You and I are going to sit down over a cup of coffee, and I'm going to explain to you what I've been through. I'm going to explain to you what I do, and I'm going to do it in an entertaining way that's going to keep your attention. And in an hour and a half to 2 hours, you're going to have all the knowledge I have. And I give you all of the links and all of the resources that you can go back and fact check me on every aspect of it as to how to help the food and how to help Mother Nature. This book is chapterless because it's just a very quick read, a very interesting story. I just want you to come along, get this information, utilize this information, because this information is being lost, everybody. If we don't pass this information along like they attempted to do to us, we're going to lose this information. So I wrote it. I put it down in a book that's entertaining. My first draft was terrible. It was 500 pages of nightmare. It was terrible giving you all the information. I found a way, a more entertaining way to write a book that's going to entertain you. A lot of people read it 3, 4 times because they're just entertained and they miss the detail. They go back for the detail. It's that kind of book, everybody. This is just an entertaining story. Come along on a coffee chat with me in the morning one day, read my information, read my story, and gain this old world knowledge. So no, this is not a textbook. This is not one of those kind of, I'm going to fall asleep trying to read this book. This is entertaining. This is meant for everybody from age 10 to 90 to be able to sit down, read this book, get the information, and be entertained.
Apologies if I've missed many comments. I've been trying to concentrate on what Ron has to say today. But I just did notice one comment from Samir Unnessa saying that it sounds very complicated. Now, this is one of the things that I really like about Ron's book, that he has taken a very complicated subject and he's written it in a very comical story form way. And if I had one criticism of the book, then I would say that it is an instructional book hidden inside a story. So that's if I did have one criticism, that'd be it, that it's too entertaining. But I'm a very dry sort of person.
Well, hey, I can handle a book being too entertaining. I don't want a boring book. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I want something that somebody's going to start reading in the first place that they can possibly get a break. They never crack that book open again. I have people out there who are dyslexic that get bored very, very easily. You say squirrel and they're gone. Bobby McNutt is here. If he gets distracted, he's done. He's gone. You can't get him back on track for an hour. But he's able to sit down and read this book from cover to cover and be entertained by it and gain the information. I've got people that have not opened a book in 19 years, opened this book and could not put it down. They love the book. It was that entertaining. And that's the point. We've got to be able to reach everybody. We've got a whole generation of people coming up, guys, 30 and less, 30 years of age and less, that have no knowledge in the gardening world and in the yard care world. And that's what this book is written for. It's to help get everybody the same knowledge. Elegant Homestead, she's a late 40s something elderly lady here. But there's knowledge in here she read that she had heard when she was younger, 20 years ago, that it reminded her. And just an added fact to the book, there are blank pages in the book, everybody, so that you can add notes, so that if you run across something and you come up with an idea, or you can add into this book in the blank pages. They're deliberately there so that you can keep all of this information together. Books aren't written that way to give you blank pages so that you can add information. There are many different ways of doing many different things. So I've provided blank pages so that you could add notes in the book and just keep going. I mean, if I'm going to sum it up that way, that would be where I would take this book. And that's what I would say, is that this is not a normal book, everybody. No way,
No,
shape, or form. It's not a textbook. And
I will
even though,
agree with
you know,
that.
they wanted me to spend and have you guys spend $25 on a book, I refused. Absolutely down and out refused and said, no, it's more important to get the information into everybody's hand than it is to just give it to somebody who can afford the book. And we knocked this price down to where we're at, $10 cheaper at $15. We have to get this information out to everybody, and it's got to be affordable.
See, for those of you in Europe, the shippage might be quite expensive from the website. I'm gonna drop the Amazon link for anyone who wants to pick it up from Amazon. It works out to about £11, so it's not that expensive for us over here. It's 2 days lunch. So there's the Amazon link if anyone wants to have a look at it. You can have a look at the way the book's written as well. So if anyone thinks that the book might be quite difficult to read, you can do an Amazon preview and see what the how it flows. It's well worth it. I mean, I made the mistake. I left my copy downstairs. I should have brought it up with me so I could show you my copy. I mean, it's one of those things that I am toying with. Is one of those ideas that I am bringing in, and I do go on to Ron's channel. If someone can drop Ron's channel link, that'll be good as well, because he holds regular live streams where you can go on and ask him questions. Sometimes it is a bit shouty, but he's American. We've got to forgive him for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Us young punks in the world, I get it.
This is the other thing. That Ron, I just wanted to highlight some. There are some quite. I mean, there's one particular person that I wanted to highlight to you. Mike's Greenhouse. If he pops into your channel, he's a very young lad. I think he's 14.
Awesome. I've got a 10-year-old putting this to work.
So he's
how old is JT Farmer, everybody? He has been given, his grandparents or his parents have given him an allotment on their property that he is putting this to use. Very young individual. As long as we know he's in the room, we will control ourselves and be gracious with him and keep our tongue and keep our wits about us. But yes, everybody is welcome in my channel. Come over, ask questions, please. I'm glad to answer them. If you're asking them from the book, I won't reveal information from the book because, hey, we need everybody to have this book. We don't want to just hand out all the information and it be gone. We want to make sure this book is out there in everybody's hands.
See, this is what I was going to say. The thing that's impressed me about there's some young gardeners who have done some YouTube channels. Mike's Greenhouse is one of them. Jim Bob's Allotments is another one. Now there's some young lads that are coming up that are really working at it, and they're trying to get this knowledge. But if they do come along, let's just give them that little bit of guidance and help them along, especially on the
absolutely.
YouTube.
That's what we're there for.
And help them on the YouTube channels as well, and make sure we support each other as well. So on that note, I'm going to open up for questions. Unless you want to say, Ron, unless you want to say anything else in particular, I'm going to open it up for questions and bring people on who want to ask.
Absolutely, bring on the questions. Let's entertain your followers.
So let's see. There's quite a few of my regulars aren't here tonight, so that's a bit of a. Sam, I didn't say hello to you when you came in. Sorry, mate. Thanks for popping in. A lot of the regulars tonight, but let's open it up. But I'm guessing that's because of the weather. Sam and Dean are talking about being old at 31, and now make me feel like I'm ancient because I'm older than you guys are. But okay, let's open it up for questions. If anyone has got a question that you want to fire at Ron, if anyone's been taking notes of questions as they came up, please go ahead. Now's the time for your questions. Okay, so while the questions are coming in, Ron, I've got one of my own. Now I use things like adding sugars to the soil. So I'll use molasses. I'll use
Absolutely.
I'll use old fizzy drinks. You know, things that have gone off. I'll use I'll even use milk to add.
Oh, hey, that's look. There's this white mold disease that attacks plants. Keep your milk handy. Keep your milk handy. Hint, hint, hint. It's a great way to stop the white fungus mold, like on pumpkins. Hint, hint, hint. That's not in the book. That's just something that, yeah, you may want to know from there. Milk is an actual great product to stop some of the fungus molds that attack some plants. But yeah, absolutely. Any sugars are going to help the food web. Obviously, you don't want chemicalization, so you want the stuff to go as stale as possible. Just like when I say when you feed your yard and feed your grass, hey, get that stale beer. Get get the old stuff that hops that is in there that makes beer. It is an incredible feeder for your lawn and will help the grass expand. And when your grass expands and you cut it, and we were talking about that earlier, when you cut it to the right height for that particular breed of grass, it's going to expand its root base. It's going to push the weeds out, and the weeds are going to struggle. Some plants will compete with grass, and if you leave them alone, they will take over. So if you treat the grass right and you don't treat the weeds right, and you let that grass expand and the grass roots expand, you're going to push those weeds right out of your yard.
Now, okay, so let's come in. Slab, yeah, the you've changed colours, mate. So Slab's talking about stale beer. He uses it for his sourdough. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
because the
see.
hops, the flavoring in the hops will greatly enhance sourdough bread.
Some say is grass push the weeds out now. Grass paths. Ron, do we put the urine on the plant? Ron? Can you put urine on the plant?
I wouldn't go directly to the plant with it. I would put it just about an inch away. Like I said, you want to thin that out. You don't want to just be out there peeing on your twigs. I'm sorry, don't do that. That's a little bit harsh. You want to kind of thin that out a little bit and spread that out, and let the urea naturally bring up the soils. So yeah, Tessie, don't go out there peeing on your tomatoes, please. Thanks. Don't do that. Don't no.
Yeah.
I know you were looking for a shortcut to the outhouse. Don't use that one.
See, if you did want to control clover and you did want to try and attack some pesky weeds, you could do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to dead kill a plant, okay, yeah, all right, go hike up your skirt and do your thing there. But I do not recommend you just go out there and spray it all over your garden, Tessie. Please don't do that. Your neighbors won't appreciate it either. So yeah, no, don't.
So, Ira Z is saying that I use banana peels. Now, this is one of the things. Banana peels do tend to have a lot of potassium in it. What do you think about using banana peels? Because
Absolutely. Anything biodegradable, anything that's from nature, stick it back in the ground and utilize it. It will enhance everything. You want your potassiums, you want your nitrates, I mean, there are things you need in that soil that are tremendously beneficial. If it's biodegradable and it is an organic plant, absolutely. I don't trust a lot of the things coming out of the grocery stores anymore, but that's my personal opinion. I don't. There's too many GMOs coming in, guys. Be warned. Too many GMOs in your grocery stores. Avoid them. Grow your own. It is so easy. 73 cent. Yeah, here's a package right here. Oh, I'm sorry. I had the wrong price. 89 cents for a pack of tomatoes. And you can grow hundreds of pounds of tomatoes for 89 cents in your yard. It is really, really inexpensive. And the benefits outweigh anything you can imagine. Because when you start getting the stuff back out of your soil and you start eating real foods again, which isn't available in America anymore. 35 years we've not had good food in our grocery stores. You grow it in your own soil, you're going to get the best of the best. Trust me.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the things. Tessie, you just asked a question about peeing directly onto a compost heap. Now, I mean, I like composting. It's one of my. It's probably the thing I enjoy more than almost more than I like growing vegetables. Peeing on a compost heap, especially at the start of a compost heap, is fantastic.
Right.
Just to get
Right.
it.
You want to bring those heats up and you want to bring those acids up when you're starting a compost pile.
Just make sure you do it when the neighbors aren't watching.
Right, Tessie. I was just going to say, you seem to have this thing about wanting to go outside and not have to go to the outhouse. I get it. But, there's a time and a place. You may want to only do that after dark.
Linz is here. How are you doing, Linz? Thanks for popping in. I was keeping an eye out for some of my regulars. Now they're turning up. I think they've been out enjoying the sunshine a bit. Howie's here as well. Fantastic. Howie, we've got a special guest, Ron, on from the Green Wizard. I know you know him.
Hey, Howie's in the house. Welcome, Food Farmers Permaculture. How you doing, buddy?
If there is anyone that I've missed saying hello to, I do apologize. Lindsay saying it's raining there. We've just had a little quick quick thunderstorm. So yeah, try the sink, easy to rinse.
Yeah.
Bouncer, I hope you like your new color, mate. What else are we missing? If anyone else has got any questions for Ron, now's your time to fire away. So just completely go for it. I gave him a warning that the Brits don't hold back, so don't let me down, guys. Give him a hard time. Ask him as many questions as you want. Let me just turn this light on. It's getting a bit dark.
Yeah, loving your series there, Howie. Great job. Keep up the great work, man. I love the way that guy was pulling those potatoes out of the soil with his bare hands. Nothing to dig up. Man, talk about the food web working the way it's supposed to. That soil is so soft. He was pulling those potato plants right out of the soil, the potatoes and all. Incredible. Love the new series, Howie. Keep it coming.
See, Howie is doing a lot of great work out there. I'm really impressed with his channel and the amount of knowledge that he's got. YouTube is a lot about entertainment, but Howie's got a lot of good things going on. I am very impressed there. Lindsay, you back from Florida yet? Lack of oxygen and increase in nitrogen is turning blue. You should be turning you green, man. Ron, one question. What's your thinking on using hydrogen peroxide in the garden?
It is an oxygen booster. It is a safe wash. It will bring up your oxygen levels. I don't know. I don't know that it's a consistent way of boosting the oxygen in the soil. I'd have to look into that a little bit further as far as what it's going to do. Yeah, in some instances, if you produce and give too much oxygen to the food web, you're going to harm it. So everything has to be taken in stride as to what you're actually utilizing it for.
See, like I mentioned to you, I planted my pumpkins and my gourds out just at the start of June, end of May, when we had some nice weather, and then we were followed by a massive temperature drop. and weeks of non-stop rain. Now, what I noticed over the last couple of days was one of my gourd plants has developed this yellow spotting on its leaves, a yellow discoloration on its stalk. It's a type of fungal infection that gourds can suffer from. So what I did yesterday was I sprayed it with hydrogen peroxide. I sprayed the leaves, I sprayed the stalk with hydrogen peroxide. I added some hydrogen peroxide around the roots. Um, so what do you, that's one
Well,
of the
as a way of killing it, absolutely. The higher oxygen levels will absolutely help. It will help drive that off. I would then stop and think what's in the soil. Why did the plant get sick? Why was this fungal infection able to step in? Because that's
the
normally what Mother Nature does. When you have a sick plant, she will send in her invasive species. She will send in the funguses. She will send in the bugs. So I would be looking at the soil thinking there might be something wrong. There may be something missing, that plant's not healthy.
Sam, thanks for coming, mate. We'll see you soon. Really appreciate your time here, mate. Now, one of the thing that, like I mentioned to you, because of the 3 weeks of non-stop rain, the soil was waterlogged. I mean, this was in a pot. A lot of it was it was in a pot with a lot of my homemade compost, so it was quite good, nutritious soil. But even though it was in a pot and it had a lot of drainage, just the sheer amount of water.
Right.
I put my hand inside and I could squeeze. If I squeeze the soil, I'm getting drops of water out of it. Um,
Oh, that's
but
that's a little too much.
I mean, we've just had an insane amount of water over the last few weeks. That's why I've peeled back some of my mulch just to try and get it dry. So Dean,
Well, keep that pitchfork handy. When you run into those extremely wet spots, pitchfork it a little bit. Just open it
yeah,
up, give it a little bit more air and a little bit more sunlight.
I think that might be the next step. That might be something for me to do tomorrow. I mean, I was out today. I wasn't home today, so I didn't get a chance to get out. Weekends are the only time I get into the garden. Um, so Sam Dean saying sadly his phone's about to die. Thanks for a great live feed. Nice to listen and look forward to future videos from both of you guys. See Dean, if you keep a track of the Green Wizard, he's a wealth of information. But I'll warn you guys again. He is a bit shouty, so but he's all right.
Yeah, sometimes I get a little worked up, and some people are entertained by that. Other people, it kind of drives them off. I understand, but when you touch on a heartfelt moment, I'll express it a little bit more than maybe I should for the UK taste. I get it.
Ron, I'll wind you up, my brother. I'll wind you up. I'll wind everyone up. That's the kind of thing that I do. So don't
Oh,
take
I
it.
never take offense to any of it. Everybody's
Don't take
welcome.
it to
Bring
heart
it
and
on.
don't
Let's have
change.
some fun. The more
Don't.
entertaining the stream is, the more people watch it.
So let's see who else we've got here. So Bouncer Slab's got shale about 1.5 feet under his garden soil, and it provides great drainage for small areas. That's quite good for getting the water to run off. That's really helpful there. But just some places are just on solid clay, extremely solid clay. So Dean's saying it's fine if you're a little bit shouty because he's got hearing issues.
I'm there. I got you. We'll take care of that.
um, now we're getting the comments coming in. Ron doesn't take offense, but may build a fence.
As long as it lets sunlight through, I won't put up a solid fence.
Tessie's saying, Bobby, I think I'll go as far as the urine. That will be it. Lol, I might not go outside and. What do you think? What do you think around humanure and compost toilets?
Great idea. I don't see a problem in it. That's there can be, depending on what they're eating, obviously, and what their chemical intake is. You can make some pretty toxic waste. But yeah, if you're eating healthy and you're eating good and you're not on chemicals and you're not taking any sort of prescription drugs, absolutely pour it on, utilize it, get it out there in your compost.
See, it's one of the things. I mean, I've been looking at compost toilets quite a bit, but the hardest part about compost toilets is convincing the other members of the family about it. See,
Right.
I'm one that wants to go for it, but I don't think my wife's too keen on it at the moment.
Yeah, I can understand there can be some issues, but sawdust is one of the controllers that will stop the issues that she may be thinking about, because it will contain a lot of those noxious gases. We'll leave it there.
Bouncer Slab is saying the Amish got into a bunch of trouble for doing it because people were complaining. That's a shame. Howie's saying leaves make the best soil and compost. Howie, I'm about to do a video on my leaf mold, on updates on my leaf mold. I had a sneak preview into some of my leaf mold. For some reason, this year has been better than any other year that I've ever made leaf mold. What I did different this year was, instead of just bagging it all up, I left it on top of my worm bin, just exposed to the elements for a couple of months, and then I bagged it up. And when I bagged it up, I ended up adding some soil and a bit of grass to it. So nothing extreme, nothing to take away from the leaves, but it looks like it's already broken down in the space of about 7 months. And it's never done that before. David Carlisle's here. How are you doing?
Hey, David, how you doing, buddy?
David, we've got a special guest in today. I don't know if you know Ron the Green Wizard.
Oh yeah, he hangs out on my channel.
Okay. So something about Iria, I missed your first part. Something stinks like the chicken. Mix it up. I missed the first part of that comment. So, Bobby's running the link for the Green Wizards channel.
Appreciate it, Bobby. Thanks for all the help, buddy.
If anyone doesn't know the Green Wizard, there's the link to go and say hello over to him. If anyone hasn't subscribed to me, please subscribe to me. I could always do with a few extra people. And if anyone hasn't hit that like for me, please hit that like for me. I would.
I think I got one of your subscribers.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I got one subscriber from you. That's
fantastic.
Awesome. Bring them on.
No, that's brilliant. It's a shame because we picked a really hot day to do it. I think we should do this again.
Absolutely, anytime you'd like.
I mean, we've got a few people lined up for interview. What I've started doing with my channel now is, this is my regular slot for my weekly live stream. I do some random live streams throughout the week where I'll help support people's channels. But rather than just shout people out randomly, I thought I'd give people an opportunity to come on here and showcase the channel for themselves and showcase what they're about. So if anyone wants to, then you're more than welcome to come on here, talk about yourself, talk about your channel, talk about what you do. You don't have to be a gardener, and I'll stress that. You don't have to be a gardener. You don't have to be, you can be whatever you want, but you're welcome to come on here and showcase what you're about. So
absolutely, RZ. Absolutely. Ground them leaves up, speed up the process. Absolutely.
If my last comment is unacceptable, I'll remove it. I don't know what your last comment was, Bouncer. It doesn't seem to affect the flavor of vegetables occasionally a bit. No, that's fine, mate. I think I know what you're talking about, but it's fine. Mild temperature and cold temperature over a winter after fall, put leaves in a pile and leave it. Best soil. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've seen this year. How it's turned out to be a really good leaf mold. I've never seen it as good. Mark Bennett, Ron, we should have a chop. Should we chop up our leaves before we put them into the compost bin?
Yeah, absolutely. Speeds it up. Mulch them up.
Mark, generally the smaller you make your particles for your compost pile, the quicker it'll compost. It's up to you the amount of work that you want to put in at the start of making a compost pile. It's up to you how much, the type of compost you want to make, whether you want to make it quite labor intensive. If you do want to make it quite labor intensive, then yes, break it up. I mean, what I do with things like hedge trimmings and leaves is I'll run them over with a lawnmower. So rather than raking leaves up, I'll just go over the grass with the lawnmower. So I'm cutting the grass and raking the leaves up at the same time. The same thing when I trim the hedges, I'll just chuck the hedge trimmings on the lawn and just cut the grass and trim the hedges at this, pull the hedge trimmings up at the same time. I've got a nice mix.
Absolutely.
And
Grind
then,
it up.
and then fire that and just chuck that onto the compost pile, and that goes for it.
How do you mean, Mark? I mean, if you're talking about using plastics and plastic bins, I mean, some people are doing that. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. It depends on how big your compost pile is. It depends on what all you're doing.
See, Mark, I'll add to that one as well. With your compost pile, I know a lot of people do use compost tumblers made out of compost plastic containers. And I know a lot of people use those plastic long, tall containers that look a bit like water butts. I'm not a big fan of them unless you're going for particularly vermicompost. If you're just going for slow vermicompost, yes, they're fine. But if you want to make a hot compost pile, the best thing I've found is 4 pallets tied together.
Yep.
Stake 3 of them into the ground so they don't move. Leave the fourth one, just tie that onto the front so you can get easy access to your compost pile. That allows you to get in from the and I don't think there's anything better than it. It's the perfect size to get a good biomass there to get it all heated up as well. So yeah, Mark, if you want to keep an eye out, I'm going to be putting out a mini series on composting. What I've done was someone asked me some questions around composting. So I tried explaining it to him. Rather than just trying to explain it with words, what I've done was I built a compost pile from start, and I've filmed it from the day one when I've compost, the ingredients that I've added. I've filmed it a few weeks later when I've given it a turn and added more grass to heat it up again, and then I filmed it when I've sifted it off. I mean, and how I've actually used the compost. So that video, that little mini series is coming. So if you want to keep an eye out for that, that might be something that you'd be interested in. Lynn's is saying, I'm sorry, but I have to go. Good so far. Lynn's, thanks for popping in. Have a great night. We'll see you again soon. If you compost in plastic, it seeps polythene into your compost when it warms up. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Ron, did you know that?
Which part were you reading? What did I miss?
Bouncer Slab said if you compost in plastic, it seeps polythene into your compost when it warms up.
I've heard that, depending on the plastic bins that you're using. So yeah, you've got to be careful there.
Okay.
Because you will bleed. And that's like they say, with a lot of these bottled waters, don't keep them over 6 months because the actual plastic will start to break down over time and start causing issues.
That's extremely interesting. I didn't know that. I thought because plastic was it didn't break down so readily.
It still bleeds chemicals, though. It's not a non-porous. It will actually bleed chemicals over time.
Biochar stops chick beetle and wireworm from eating your vegetable roots. Okay. See, I've never used biochar before. I mean, I've used wood ash as fertilizer. I've used wood ash as an insecticide, but I've never used biochar before. What?
Oh, absolutely wonderful. It'll attract. I mean, it's a giant sponge. It'll attract everything. It'll soak up minerals. It'll do all sorts of wonderful things. And when the food web finally comes in contact with it and makes it available, it's an abundance just sitting there in the char.
See, when I've already got so much wood and rotting wood already in the soil, do you think
It's doing the same. It's doing the same difference with that without the mineral loss. So you're doing exactly the same difference. I prefer, just like Howie and the way he does it. I prefer bury your trees, bury your branches, bury everything, run everything in trenches so that you've got your drain off. So you've got this, so you've got that, and let that stuff break down naturally. It is loaded with minerals and loaded with goodness. The worms love it. The ants love it. Everything just thrives when you build these things. Howie has a specific name for it. I want to say it's pathway gardening is what he calls it, where
he
you're
calls it
burying all of
pathway
this
soil?
stuff. It's
He calls
incredibly abundant.
Yeah, he calls it pathway soil. I've looked at his pathway soil. I think it's very impressive. I've been impressed with the results. So, Artfully Yours with Diana is here. Thank you very much for popping in. Really appreciate it. Suffolk Susie's here. Thank you very much for coming in. The tumblers they sell are plastic. Yeah, they are. That's one of the things. So this is the thing. I mean, I've got one plastic compost bin. That's particularly for worm compost. So it's a very I'm very
It
particular
depends
about.
on the plastic. It does. It depends on the
It's an
type
old
of
IBC
plastic.
tote. I mean, it's basically an IBC tote cut in half. If anyone
Okay.
if anyone wants to see the setup, just go onto my. I've got a video called "The Biggest Worm Bin Ever." Basically, it's an IBC tote cut in half. The top's been turned over and put into the bottom, so I can collect all the worm juice, and I can
Right.
generate probably a couple of buckets of worm juice a week.
Right. But that type of plastic is not going to break down that way. So you've got no
Okay.
problem with it. It's the type of plastic.
Okay. So Howie's off. Howie, thank you for coming in. Really appreciate it. It's Pathway Soil Bank. That's what Howie calls it.
That's what it was.
Pathway.
Right.
It's very impressive. I see the videos that Howie's done on it. Very good. What have we got? We've got Rachel Jane's allotment here. Thank you very much for coming. UK plastic hot compost bins are insulated, so no seeping of plastic. That's interesting to know. Okay. I mean, I just don't like the size of the compost bins. Some of them, I think there's a couple of reasons I don't like them. One of them is that they're because of the size. The other thing is that there's so many wooden pallets available for free. You can have an equally nice looking compost bin
Right.
that is free, and I think you should. I prefer someone to save 40, 50 quid over. But if you can get a free plastic bin, no problem, go for it. But I'm not a big fan of them. But they do look nice. They do look tidy. I won't disagree with that. I'm just trying to catch up on comments. Iris saying they make biodegradable water bottles now. Not good to refill it. Biodegradable water bottles. I've not heard of them before.
Yeah, there a lot of the beer companies are starting to go to that because so many people just will not stop throwing trash out and just leaving it wherever. So the bins and some of the plastic containers where they've had the rings on top of like pop cans and what have you, they're starting to make that out of a biodegradable plastic film that breaks down in a month's time. So refilling those bottles is worthless because in a month's time it's going to break down to nothing.
So the other thing we've got, JJ is saying lots of information. Thank you so much. JJ, you're very welcome, mate. I really appreciate you coming and hanging out. You've been here from the start. I really appreciate it. Brian's here as well. Brian from Allotment Life. Brian, we've got a slight difference in approaching today's live stream. We've got Ron, the author of the Green Wizard's Guide, on. We had him talk about his book. We had him talk about gardening. We had him talk about building soil and building soil life. And now we've just opened the floor up for any questions that anyone wants to fire at him. So anything that you wanna ask him, go for it. So Rachel saying free cycle, absolutely, that's a brilliant idea. Free cycle, if anyone doesn't know, in the UK, it's a place where people can recycle stuff. You know, you can get things that other people are giving away. They've not used, they haven't got a use for it anymore. So they stick it on this website, and someone just comes along and takes it away for free. That's a good idea, very good idea. Brian's got a Dalek bin, and he doesn't use it. See, I've heard about these Dalek bins. I don't know much about them though.
Yeah, I haven't heard of them.
Um,
So I can't sound off on that one. Have not heard of it.
they're like the plastic compost bins, but with the bottom open, and they feed. It's based on worm composting.
Oh, okay. So it allows the worms to come up through the bottom of it. That's a great idea, actually.
So biodegradables are still good on cans to keep netting up. On canes to keep netting. Ah, sorry. I can't read. I'm sorry. I've noticed, lol. So Elegant Holmes is saying thank you for hosting this much needed forum. Glenda, not a problem. I really appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us. Yeah, everyone who's come in, thank you very much. This has been, for those of you that are just used to coming along and ripping the mickey out of me for a few hours, it's slightly different tonight.
If Mark, if you keep rotating that compost, if you keep flipping the thing over like you're supposed to, the recommended is 1/3 every time you go in to break it down and flip it over. So when you go in and you open the compost pile up, that will naturally keep the rats and the mice away, because they're looking for a home. They're looking for a nest. And if you're constantly disturbing it and constantly flipping it over and constantly breaking into it by 1/3, there's no nest for them to build. They will not stay.
See, Mark, I'll just add to that as well. You know, any type of compost bin that's open will attract rats. There's some really there's a lot of compost rules that really annoy me. To be honest with you, there's some compost rules saying don't add meat, don't add dairy, don't add lemons, don't add onions, and I just think these kind of things are. Some of them have some basis originally, like lemons and onions are bad for worms. Yeah, worms don't like them. They're irritated by them. The skin of the worm is irritated by lemons and onions. So yeah, so if you're focusing it on worm composting, then fine, stay away from lemons and onions, not a problem. Any compost bin, it's a shame we haven't got pest control CJ in the house, because he'd tell you any compost bin will attract rats. Any food source, rotting vegetables, any food source like that will attract rats. Where you're saying you have an issue with chipmunks, I mean, I've got an issue with squirrels in my compost bin all the time. But one of the things that I've done to discourage rats, I used to get a lot of rats in the garden, but one of the things that I've done to discourage rats is I encourage the neighborhood stray cats to come to the garden. So I've got a lot of stray cats in the garden. They're in the garden. We leave some food out for them. They're coming in, but they're chasing off the rats. Since the stray cats have turned up, there's no rats. But anything anything with rotting anything with rotting vegetation will attract rats, is what I'm trying to say. So attack using meat. Meat is a fantastic source of nitrogen. You know, the blood, one of the most common fertilizers is blood, fish and bone, because it's full of blood. It's got the potassium and the calcium in the bones. It's got the nitrogen in the blood. It's rocket fuel. So why would you not add that to a compost pile? If you don't like the traditional way of doing it, check out a video I did on composting chicken bones and chicken meat, where I blitzed the scraps of the chicken up in a blender, and then I stuck it in basically what would be a worm bin. I mean, it wasn't anything fancy. It was a bucket with some holes in the bottom and some soil on. And I've just continued to layer that over the course of winter. And this summer, when I opened the bucket up, it was just full of worms. You couldn't move your hands. There were that many worms in it. Ronnie, still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, sir.
You just went quiet on me for a second there, mate.
Well, yeah, you're on a roll with composting. I'm for anything biodegradable going back in the soil. Absolutely.
So Suffolk Susie's asking onions. Do you know? Yeah, Susie, this is one of the. So another one of those composting myths that you shouldn't add onions. If you've just got a specific worm bin, adding onions will cause them. Adding a lot of onions will cause issues. Adding them in moderation, anything in moderation won't cause issues. But if you've got a hot compost bin, add all the onions you want, man. Not a problem. So Bobby's just posted the link to Ron's YouTube channel. He's got some good information on there.
Yeah, please come join me. I'm always releasing new information and extra information to add to the book or just add to your knowledge. As people ask enough questions, and I'm always open to questions, the Green Wizard at hotmail.com. If I get enough of the same question, I'll pop out a video about it. Otherwise, I'll just like with Mark Bennett, I'll just answer the emails to get the question answered as quickly as possible.
Let's see. Rachel Jane's allotment is saying, I'm chasing away the stray cats and the spray poop everywhere. I'll tell you a little funny story about that. I sifted off a load of soil, some old soil, and mixed it with a lot of sand, sharp sand, to plant my carrots in. And I left it in a container in the garden. And I thought, okay, I've got my carrot mixture there, no problem. And a few days later, so I stuck my hand in it. I didn't have any gloves on. I stuck my hands in, thinking, yeah, I'm gonna get my carrots planted now. And then I can smell something.
Yeah. I know where this is going.
Basically, I'm squelching the soil. So I'm just picking the soil up and squelching it. And I've taken a big chunk of cat turd and I've just squelched it in my hands.
Yep.
For about a week.
Cat litter box. Good job.
I could still smell it on my hands for about a week. For a week, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. So white wings, brown body, and a multicolored neck. So bouncer slab saw a funny colored peacock. Are you sure it wasn't a pheasant? Bloodfish is good in moderation. Rachel Jane wants a bokashi compost bin.
Gloves. Yep, absolutely. Anytime you're out there working with an unknown, gloves. Absolutely. You'll learn.
I thought it was a known, you see. It was sort of soil that I'd sifted off.
Right, but you're attracting that. You're also feeding cats, and then you give them a kitty litter box. Good job.
Yeah, it was horrible. Honestly, it was horrible.
That'll teach you.
So
keep enough of that around, and it'll keep you out of the garden. Be careful when you're doing that next time. That's funny. That's a good one.
I've had some entertaining incidents in the garden. I mean, I was on a live stream once. I was doing a live stream from the garden, and while I was on the live stream, I mean, I'd mixed up a bucket of chicken manure and water to spray all over the garden. And while I was on the live stream, I took a misstep and fell straight into this bucket.
Oh.
So backside first, straight into a bucket of chicken manure water. Lovely.
Yeah, you couldn't stage that. I'll bet you got a lot of views on that one. If not, change the title. You will.
It didn't get it on the video of me falling. Basically, it was just a little shake of the camera, but
Bummer.
it was literally me in this chicken manure water. So Brian from Allotment Life is saying, gonna have to change your name to Cat Turd Stinker. So Bouncer Slab can smell it right now, and it was on your hand. So Bouncer Slab's peacock was 3 foot tall. Bouncer Slab's seen this really interesting looking peacock in his garden.
Now I'm starting to think wild turkey, but I don't know. 3 feet tall? I don't know. Of course, with the weather and the weirdness that's been going on, I would expect to see any sorts of weird animals starting to pop up out of the woods.
I mean, we've had 31 degrees this year. Today, sorry, 31
That's
degrees.
harsh.
It's Celsius. That's warm. I like the hot weather. I mean, I like the hot weather. I struggle in cold weather. It hurts my bones when it's cold. If I'm in a lot of physical pain when it's cold. So the hotter the better for me. But I mean, we've had some crazy weather this year. Do you know, in February when it should be snowing and when it should be cold, we had 22 degrees. I was outside in the garden in shorts and a t-shirt in February.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe.
You can't tell me somebody's not doing something. There's something a little weird going on this planet.
Rachel, you're saying your garden's not liking the hot weather. I've had an issue, you know, we've had 2 days of sun, and before that, Rachel, we had about 3 weeks of non-stop rain, and my garden's flooded. My squash, my sweet corn, a lot of my gourds, they started dying because there's so much water in the soil. I don't know what it's like today because I haven't been spending a lot of time out there. But up until yesterday, the soil was still squelching. So I'm quite. I'll see what it's like tomorrow. So Ira is saying I use doggy shampoo around my place for fire ants.
It's not a bad idea.
What are fire ants?
And there's a specific breed of ant down in the hotter weather and hotter climate areas that we have here in the United States, Texas, New Mexico, what have you. That they're very, very dangerous to us. And people are battling them all over this year, especially with the high heat. And the colonies are moving.
RG said here, good afternoon, guys. Thank you very much for coming in. Really appreciate it. We've got Ron from the Green Wizards, the Green Wizard, who's on today. Stubbs Bitching and Fishing is here. Thank you very much for coming in. Yeah, we've got Ron, the Green Wizard. So if anyone, we had an interview with him at the start, and now we're into question and answer session. So if anyone wants to ask him any questions, go ahead. So Bouncer Slab saying yes, the peacock's been verified. The neighbor just said he ate the last one he caught. See, look, that's awesome. That we've got a strange animal in the garden. Quickly eat it.
Hey.
Those fire ants bite. David Carlisle's got fire ants.
Yeah, they're bad news. They're not a good thing to have around.
So RJ Homestead saying, I read your book and learned a lot. It was worth the money.
I appreciate that, RG. If you decide to pop up a video, let me know. I'll grab a copy of it and host it on my channel. Just like with your permission, Gardner, I'll copy this and post this back on my channel too.
No, absolutely fine. Not a problem at all. You're very welcome to do so. For those of you who are coming in, if anyone does want to come on, and I mean, we're very privileged today. We've got the Green Wizard on, but if anyone else does want to come on and do an interview and showcase their channel, you're very welcome to do so. Peacock 3 foot high and the mice are 4 foot long. So, there's Brian Fair. He said it tasted like chicken. Turkey gave him the squirts of it, evidently.
Yeah, don't put that on your garden plants either, Tessie.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Ron, would you do me a favor? Would you take over the stream for about 10 minutes?
Absolutely. Anybody got any questions? Anywhere you guys want to take this, you go right ahead and step away.
I'm going to just step away for about 10 minutes if you can just take over and run things. So, yeah, I'm going to hand you over to Ron. And
Milk, Tessie. Milk, milk, milk. Spray it down with milk. Kill those eggs and get those things gone. Use some milk. But yeah, there's all sorts of natural remedies, and milk happens to be one of the greatest ones out there. I don't know why people aren't using it more. I was down talking to the feed store the other day, and they said the same thing. People just are not looking at milk enough. And yeah, it's an incredible. I'm the author of the Green Wizard's Guide. That's the book that you're seeing behind me. This is the book I've written. Bobby will pop up a link that you can get this off of Amazon and have it in a few days. It's not your normal book, everybody. It's not an instructional guide. It's not a textbook. It's an entertaining story. I'm going to take you along for a coffee chat one morning. It's going to take you about 2 hours to read it. And you're going to gain more information and want to go back and reread it again after being entertained the first time just to get that information. And there's a lot in here. I've buried a lot of information here throughout the entertaining story deliberately so that it causes you to want to go back and get the information. There's little spots and little highlights and little bullet points throughout the book, but ultimately there's no chapters in this book. This is a one-time read, hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe. And you're going to gain a lot of old knowledge that was passed down by the Indians, knowledge that was supposed to have been passed down to us from our grandfathers' grandfathers that has disappeared over time. That's what this book is. I'm the author of that book. So buy a copy of it. Put this knowledge to use in your yard. Put this knowledge to use in your garden and watch the abundance. The weeds naturally go away and your gardens are far, far more abundant. You will get more stuff out of your garden than you've ever seen before. And the taste is phenomenal. If you want to compete with your neighbors with your garden, add my secrets. Watch what happens. You'll start winning all of those contests. Tobacco worms. I wonder if Tenacious Earth would help you there, Bouncer. I really do. So yeah, fire away your questions, everybody. Now's the time to ask them. We got 10 minutes to burn while he steps away. Any milk, Tessie, any. Turn the clay pot upside down over the anthill. Boiling water, yeah, that'll help. You know, and Dave, I'm hearing some interesting things about cinnamon and those ants, cinnamon and fire ants. I don't know what all is involved there. And if you're going to be running boiling water anyways with water, I would add a little bit of Dawn dish detergent so it breaks down their outer shell, breaks down their bone mass, and helps get rid of them. Fishing with fish, absolutely. That's the problem here. We have a whole new generation of kids coming up that need to be entertained, that aren't going to sit down and read a book. Who wants to go back to high school and read textbooks and be tested on stuff anymore? I mean, seriously. You know, I wrote that book. It was terrible. It was, oh God, you don't want to know how bad it was. I threw that away and wrote an entertaining guide for you guys. An entertaining way of watching me screw up my yard and get yelled at by my neighbors, to dominating them with my lawn, dominating them with my garden, dominating them with everything. So get a copy of the book, get this information, get everybody you know that even has green grass in their yard that's fighting with weeds. Read this book. It'll give you a better, cheaper way of taking care of your yard and putting money back in your pocket. If you garden, get ready to start canning, because you're going to get a lot of abundance out of your yard and out of your garden using these secrets. And they're not secrets. It's forgotten information. And I've just added some zingers to speed things up and speed things along. So come along for the ride, read the book, and be entertained and gain the knowledge. Oh, I'll bet they do, RG. Oh, I'll bet they do. Ooh. My problem is you dump that old oil in there, and yeah, it's going to eventually cause an issue in that one spot. But that's fixable. That can be fixed. Yes, Tessie, absolutely. It's nice to have a garden. It's nice to have things growing along. And I was reading something the other day, Tessie, and a lot of you gardeners, a gardener had reason to be away for a month, and his tomatoes were running like crazy and doing their thing, and they collapsed their cages and they expanded naturally, Mother Nature's way. Remember, these are vining plants. They will reroot, they will grow stronger if you leave them lay down, and you will get more tomatoes. Hint, hint, hint. We don't have to stand a tomato plant up, everybody. We don't need tomato cages. It is a vine. It would much rather prefer to lay down or hang somewhere than to be planted, staked up, strung up, and expected to produce its fruit. You will get more if you let it lay down. Try that next year, Tessie. Let one tomato grow wild. Let one tomato just do its own thing, and don't fence it in. Don't cage it. Don't do anything. Obviously, try and keep it contained in your garden so you don't run it over with your lawnmower, and watch the difference. Watch the difference. If you think about it this way, it's something like a pumpkin. If you let pumpkin vines grow, they will reroot and reroot and reroot wherever they go, and continually reroot and draw in more from everywhere. So as you let this thing run, let your tomatoes run and watch what happens. Watch what happens. There's some incredible stuff out there that we as man are disrupting by thinking, well, we need to contain the tomato plant. We need to this and we need to that. And we need to, you know, the world record is a 25-foot tall tomato plant. It was producing. Right. Absolutely. We can do that. But you want more from it? Let it lay down on the ground and leave it alone. Watch what happens. Let them run. Watch what happens, Tessie. Let them run. Obviously, you don't have, you didn't apply the secrets yet this year, or you may have. But as you start adding more and more of this stuff, more and more of the stuff out of the Green Wizard's Guide, you're going to find incredible stuff happening. Oh, absolutely, Bouncer. Absolutely. People don't realize. People don't realize. Oh, well, we're supposed to put it in a cage and it's supposed to be up because that's what I saw this other guy do. So it must be the right way to do it. No, it's not. It's a viney plant. Let it run and watch. It'll reroot itself. Everywhere it touches the ground, it'll reroot because it's bringing in more and more. Meanwhile, we're all worried because of tomato rot and tomato split and tomato this and tomato that. Yeah, we stood all the tomatoes up so they're suffering and they're struggling. Lay them down and watch what happens. Come on. They were not putting tomatoes, right, 100 years ago. They were not mass tomato farms. Huge tomato farms are not running tomato cages, people. They're not running cattle cages and stringing up their tomatoes. Stop doing that. A massive tomato farm has the tomatoes laid out on the ground, running everywhere. Watch Mother Nature. She'll tell you what works. Leave Mother Nature be, and she will reward you. It's incredible what's going to happen. All we're doing with the guide is old information, bringing it back up, supercharging it with scientific research that's been done, and turning out incredible yards and gardens because we're just souping up the system. A lot of people are going to look at it and go, okay, well, I'm going to read this book and I can't do anything till next year. That's incorrect. The sooner you get the chemicals washed out of your yard and start applying this, the faster this stuff works. We have a gentleman. Oh, Jerry's Wood Shop and Outdoors. His wife read the book, and he didn't. She did. She went out and she applied these principles to their yard. And in 2 weeks, he was cussing me out because the grass was so thick and coming back so strong, and the water was being repelled out of his yard and being soaked into his yard the way it's supposed to. We should not be facing all of this flooding, everybody. The issue. We need to fix it. We need to fix it. And the guide tells you how. Very simple instructions. It tells you how I do it, how other people can do it, and you can gain from the abundance. Jerry's working outdoors, used to have to be outside and watch his property and drive off the water to protect his house because it would flood every time it rained. Until this, he put this book and these processes into use in his yard, and the flooding stopped. The yard is now absorbing the water. The clay is turning back into topsoil, everybody. That's what we're talking about. Letting nature come back to where she's supposed to be and letting things grow in abundance. And it will reward you profusely. Sorry, you may have to cut your grass a little bit more. I'm sorry. But when you apply this to a garden, you want to be trimming more and getting more fruits and vegetables out of your garden. That's kind of the point. Get off the chemicals and go this route. It's organic. It's not going to hurt anything. And it's far, far less expensive. I went out and I priced it this year. I went out and I bought the supplies to do my yard for the next 2, maybe 3 years worth of supplies. And I can apply them all this year. No problem. Don't even have to think about it. It will not hurt anything. But I will utilize it over the next 3 years. Cost me about $150. I went out and I priced the same 4 processes in the chemical treatments for just this year at the big box stores. Over $200 for 1 year's worth of treatment. You tell me, $150 for 3 years, $200 for a year. Who's saving money? And who's got the better yard? I walk out and I look at my neighbors' yards right now. They're starting to burn. They're starting to dry up. We just had 3 days worth of rain and their yards are burning up. Mine's lush, green. It was 80 some, high 80s yesterday, almost 90 degrees. I'm out there barefoot. Can't walk in other neighbors' yards. It's too hot. Walking my grass, it's still cool. It's still thick. I cut it at the same time they cut theirs. My grass is green, lush, and growing strong. Nice dark green. What do you want? You want to work hard. You want to enjoy your yard and enjoy the abundance and do it in nature's way just by understanding and knowing this knowledge. It's available. Here it is in print. I'm sorry, Elegant Homestead didn't get around to writing this book. You know, that young lady just didn't have the time. She was growing a family. She was doing her thing. Nobody wanted to hear it back when she started gardening. I stopped. I wrote the book. Here you go. Here's this information. Utilize the information. Read the book. Be entertained. Utilize the information. And you will be thanking me next year in your garden when you see the abundance that comes pouring out of your garden. You'll thank me. Trust me. Hey, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just had to step away for a little bit, but I'm back now. So just a quick roll call. Thank you for taking over and looking after everyone while I've been away. So we've still got Bobby here. We've got Dojo, Dave, Elegant Homestead, Homestead Testy, Ira Z, Kathleen Elliott, Mike's Greenhouse, Sam's Allotment Diary, Venom Records, and Where We Are. If I've missed anyone, I do apologize. If you type something, I'll say hello. So what did I miss while I was away?
Everything. I reiterated what the book was and what it was about. Somebody had asked me what these books were over my shoulder. So I answered the question and went back into a book sermon again, if that's what you want to call it.
No, that's fine. Sorry, I missed Susie. Susie, how could I miss you? I'm sorry. You just weren't showing up on the list. That's my excuse. So we've still got 22 people watching. If anyone hasn't hit like for me, please hit that like. Rachel Jane's allotment still here. Brilliant. They're doing a lot of good work, you know, working with a family on the allotment, growing vegetables, the whole family's involved. Really good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really good people. I love them.
Well, I think I wore everybody out. I don't know if there's any more questions for us.
She will tell people to lava your land and take it back. Lava your land and take it back. What did I miss there? I think I missed something there. Nick Jones 74. Where in the UK are you from?
Hey, you showed up. Hey, buddy.
I'm in Leeds. Are you in the UK as well? Suffolk Susie just bought the book. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Brian's still here and he's calling me Stinker. Brian, next Saturday.
I don't think you're going to shake that name now.
I hope you're ready, mate. Joshua Zeba's here. Hi again. I've got to leave for work soon, unfortunately. Joshua, thanks for coming in. We had a slight different format to the show today. We had the Green Wizard. I don't know if you caught any of him talking, but he's been sharing his knowledge with us. He's been sharing a story about why he wrote the Green Wizard's Guide and some of the knowledge from there and some of his own knowledge. Really, really recommend it. Thank you. Notebook is full. Awesome.
Yeah, every time she comes on one of my talks and discussions, she'll fill another notebook. She's going to write a book all by herself about the Green Wizard.
That'll be fantastic.
And all the information I didn't put in my book.
A book about a book would be fantastic. And filling in the gaps. That's what this is all about, though. Do you know, like, do you know like food forests, right?
Right.
They're becoming a thing now because the permaculture movement has picked them up. Before I make that point, I've got to say hello to my mate Fish with Bish has just turned up. Thanks very much, mate. You missed it, man. You missed it. We have a great interview with Green Wizard. He's been here taking us through all of everything. Fantastic. Yeah, what I was going to say was, sorry, I don't know what I was about to say. I don't know what I
Ira
was.
C, go ahead and ask your question. But yeah, we were talking about letting tomatoes lay down and letting them expand and letting them grow naturally because they're a vine. We need to control them and cage them and raise them up. Um, and you will get a higher abundance and you'll get less tomato split, less tomato rot, less tomato this, less tomato that if we let it go naturally instead of interfering.
See, I'd agree with you. If you had a long enough growing season,
Right.
for those places with
That's
long
the other side of that issue, right?
I'll agree with you for those places that have got a long growing season. Yes, just let them sprawl and feed them. But in places like us in the UK, I mean, I grow both determinate and indeterminate. Um, and when I'm growing single stem plants. When I grow tomatoes, I grow them on single stem plants. And the main reasons are because we don't have a long enough growing season. Rachel Jane's allotments just said it there. The UK is too wet.
Do you have a fence?
Sprawl on the ground. If you leave them to sprawl on the ground, they'll get rotten very easily.
Do you have a privacy fence on any part of your backyard?
No, it's all hedge. It's all
Oh, all
hedgerow.
right. I was gonna say you should try hanging them. Hang your tomato plants. Give it a big enough bucket that it can root in, and punch some holes in it about halfway so that you've got water control. But hang them and watch what happens.
Yeah, that's a good tip. That's a good tip. Nick's allotment diaries here. Just a quick hello this evening on my way this weekend. Just wanted to pop in and say hello. Nick, thanks very much for coming in. We've had the Green Wizard on. He's been talking about soil and soil fertility, and we're in the question and answers session. So if anyone's got any more questions, keep firing away. Green Wizard will answer your questions and he'll help you with your potions. I just didn't have stakes, that was why, but it did work well. Okay. Brassica caterpillars, what about those darn white butterflies?
Well, there's an old timer's trick. Chewing tobacco, long leaf chewing tobacco. Make yourself up some tea. Steep your water, not boiling, steeping, and then take that little bit of tobacco leaves, about 3 fingers worth, stick it down in a lady's stocking, and let that sit in that steeping water overnight. Don't steep it overnight. Just get it to steeping, and then throw the long leaf tobacco in, and use that as your bug repellent and your bug spray. The the bugs absolutely hate the taste of tobacco, and it will drive them off. And all you got to do is not put them on your plants and not put them on the stuff that you're actually going to eat. The rain will naturally wash it off in the long run, but you can attack your bugs with an all natural. And I've used it, so it does work. I do trust it. An all natural bug repellent, which is just a big gallon of tobacco tea, and spritz down your plants with it.
Nick's off. Nick, take care. We'll see you soon. Rattletrap Fishing has just popped in. Thank you very much.
Hey,
Rattletrap,
what's going on, buddy?
we've got the
Thanks
Green
for
Wizard
catching
in,
up.
giving us, sharing his knowledge with us. Irie had a question there. What do you guys think about using doggy shampoo to kill bugs?
It'll work. It'll dry them out. I don't know that it's an absolute deterrent, but it'll work. Because you got to remember, most of the bugs we deal with don't have a skeletal structure, and the soaps and the shampoos will soften those skeletal structures and contribute to killing off those bugs. So if they're a hard shell type of bug, like an ant and some of those others, that will automatically attack them and soften their shells, and they won't be able to support their own weight, and it'll stop them dead in their tracks.
Uh, Rachel's asking what chemicals are in dog shampoo.
I don't have a bottle in front of me. I can't tell you.
See, Brian picked up on the use. You know, when you were talking about using tobacco, it's the same thing that we were talking about before around
Right.
that I was mentioning about nicotine and caffeine in products that cause insects and other plants to be, to die.
Right.
You're right. It's the nicotine that's in the tobacco that will cause will cause other insects, will kill insects. I mean, that's one of the reasons that the tobacco plant grows the nicotine, so it doesn't get eaten. So
Yeah, so we've run out, sir. I appreciate you having me on the show. I appreciate you having me by.
No, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I really appreciate you coming on. I've enjoyed having you here. I've learned a lot. It's given me an opportunity to ask some questions that I wanted about the book as well. So I'm grateful for that. It's hard to just, when you type in a chat, and
Right.
it's hard to get the questions. It's nice to be able to have this face-to-face conversation with you, and I want to do this again. Probably
Anytime.
not. Probably not in the next couple of weeks, because I think there's a few more. I don't want to reveal it yet. Brian knows what's going on next Saturday, and then I'm away for a few weeks in August. But when I get back, I think I should get you on this show again.
Absolutely. Anytime. You know where to find me. You run into me all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah,
Always welcome.
I'm always in your stream. I like spending time in your stream, because it's one of. I know a lot of people come to YouTube for a lot of entertainment, but sometimes there's important messages that we can get from, as well as being entertained at the same time. And the Green Wizard's one of those type of people that will help you get that entertainment value, but they'll give you that important message at the same time. And that's one of the things that I like about the Green Wizards, the Green Wizards book, the Green Wizards Guide. That it is entertaining. It's an easy read. It's not a textbook saying grow this here, put your plant like this and do like this, and in March you must plant all your tomato seeds. You must plant them out in June. It's nothing like that. Yeah, it'll tell you a story. It'll take you through his incident, his history as to why he became the Green Wizard, while he was the Weed Master. How he went on his journey to become the Green Wizard. How he started getting writing down, knowledge from his parents, from his grandparents. It's not new knowledge. He likes to keep saying that it's not new knowledge. It's old knowledge that he's sharing. And that's exactly this. Yeah, that's what I was going to say about the Bishop. I'm going to come back to your question on lavender oil in a second. We'll pose that to the Green Wizard. But the thing that I was, like before permaculture became a thing, people, if you go to third world countries, people were doing permaculture before permaculture was a thing. There's, this thing about food forests? It's become hip and trendy right now, because I think the YouTube permaculture movement has fueled food forests, and there's a couple of prominent permaculture people on YouTube that promote food forests, and that is getting a lot of popularity through that. But I was looking at some pictures of my parents' village in Bangladesh, and their village is a food forest. Their house, so they've got this small bungalow, and then around the bungalow is jackfruit trees, mango trees. Underneath there they've got guava trees, they've got lemons, they've got coconut trees, they've got a lake, everything. And then where they're just dumped, they've got a hole where they just dump, the horse manure. So the not horse manure, cow manure, where the cows live there.
Right.
The what do you call where you tie the cows up? I can't remember the shed, whatever it is. So and then they're just taking the manure out the cow, the hole where they put the cow manure, spreading that underneath the trees, and then they're growing small vegetables like a vegetable called muki. I think it's called edos in English. So they're growing that. But that system is there it's about 100 years old. So long before people like Bill Mollison even started thinking about these things. But it's important to bring these things into new, do you know, like how they say in business, open these things up to new markets. It's important to get this message out. It's old knowledge that we should be sharing. And I like the fact that you say that it's old knowledge and don't pretend that I'm coming up with new knowledge. I really rate that about you. Fish with Bish asked a question about lavender oil. Just before we get to that question, Kelly's here. Kelly from My UK Homestead. Thank you very much for coming in. Frank Colwell's here, another great guy. Kelly's another great channel, absolutely fantastic person. Really supportive. We've got the Green Wizard in. He's been talking about soil fertility. Frank, I'm sure you'll have a few questions for him. Kelly, he's been talking about food, soil fertility. Ira, in the UK, it's too cold for coconuts. We can't grow that kind of vegetable here, that kind of fruit here. Ron,
I like lavender oil. I like lavender oil for a multitude of reasons. As far as a bug deterrent, I would absolutely, apply it to the different areas. I would even grow it in my garden as part of the ground cover to help cover the soil, because it's going to be a natural deterrent. The bugs are going to potentially fly in, run into that scent, run into that smell, and be driven off by it. So absolutely, grow lavender, grow all sorts of the different mints. It'll drive a lot of the bugs away. It's a natural bug repellent.
See, Bobby's to the Green Wizards YouTube channel. There he is. I'll post the Amazon link as well. So if anyone wants to check his book out on Amazon, there's the Green Wizard's Guide. I mean, it is written in a very story form. It is written in a very entertaining form, but it does have an important message back there. How far are we in? We've been going for a fair while. We're 2 and a bit hours in.
Yeah.
And we're still holding strong at 19 people. That's fantastic. See, when I was talking about my regulars, people, Kelly, Frank, Sam, these guys are, we've got, I'm lucky to have a core bunch of friends on YouTube. A lot of them have, I think the weather might have had something to do with it, but a lot of them have been popping in and out today. But these guys normally start with me at 8 and finish when I finish. They're absolutely fantastic, and I really appreciate you guys. Yeah. I'm rolling about on my ball again. Frank wants to knock me off my ball. he wants to, because I sit on this. I'll show you what I sit on.
It's one of them exercise balls. Great.
So I sit on this thing while I'm doing this live stream, and Frank wants to get me laughing so much that I fall off the ball.
He's just trying to help you with your exercise. That's all.
So Mahmoud Ali's here. Assalamu alaikum. Rachel, Jane, Rachel. How's my jackfruit doing? I killed it before I even got anywhere with it. I've got clumsy hands. I broke the root clean off when I was trying to plant it. Yeah. I'll try again with the next one I get. Frank missed it all. Been on a pub crawl and a barbecue at my sister-in-law's. Frank, that's much more fun. I can guess. 22 watching and 35 likes. Thank you very much. Yeah, it is sad, but I am quite clumsy. That's just one of the things that I do. I am quite clumsy. Yeah, that's just me. I'm learning to live with it. We've not done bad, have we? We've had a good few people come in. 2 hours and Monty hasn't broke down giggling. We are winning. Don't fall, it hurts. See, now they're starting. See, this is
Yeah,
what
now they're gonna start with the entertainment. I get it.
see this
It happens on every stream.
this is what the stream's normally like. It's 2 hours or 3 hours of ripping the, taking the mickey out of me, which I can live with. Not a problem. Mahmoud Ali wants to make a star appearance on the show whenever you want, mate. Whenever you want, you can come on. As with anyone, whoever wants to come on, there's no pressure. I mean, I'd like to showcase every one of your channels one by one. Get you up here. You can talk to people. You can take over the whole stream. I'll advertise it. You advertise it, and yeah, we can all make some new friends. So I think at least one person's bought your book today, Ron.
Well, that's a plus. I greatly appreciate it.
Rahman Raj.
I'd like to see more sell because I'd really love to buy Elegant Homestead's property before she leaves it. She's got 200 acres over there in Kentucky that I would love to get my hands on.
200 acres. I don't know what I'd do with 200 acres. Do you know? I'm not a greedy man. I'd love about 5 acres of land. If I had 5 acres of land and a house to live in, I'd be a happy man, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the people want the next book, so they want the information on how to build a garden, what my opinion is, and how I would go about doing it, and they want to see it. So the next book will be strictly building a garden and what to do and what my recommendations are, and to do it in an entertaining way, just like we did with the Green Wizard's Guide.
Do you want to do a collaboration on a book?
I've thought about it, but one book at a time. I can, my brain goes in a billion different directions at different times. But yeah, we could definitely sit down and talk about something.
Yeah, let's have that chat. Let's have that conversation. Rahman Raj is here. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. How are you doing, brother? Thank you very much for coming in. He is clumsy. He shook my hand and my finger fell off. See, I did a collaboration with Fish with Bish. We met up and had a barrel of laughs. If anyone wants to see something just completely off the wall, check that out. Check out Fish with Bish. He's funny as anything. He's absolutely brilliant. 200 acres, Elegant Homestead. You've got a lot. That's a lot of raised beds.
Yeah, no, she doesn't raise bed. It's an actual farm. She does have raised beds. Don't misunderstand. But 200 acres, no, you couldn't do that in raised beds. That would be a lot of work.
Kelly, we were looking at a 5-acre plot of land yesterday across the road from us, but turns out it was sold. Kelly, how much was that on for? My brother saw 3 acres, a 3-acre plot of land up in Pickering, which is about an hour north from where I am, for 300 grand. But as you go north from where I am, it's getting colder and colder. So I think I'm as far north as I want to be.
Yeah, but at 300 grand, oh wow,
for 3 acres.
That's expensive.
It's sold for 35k. So 35. Wow. 35k. I wish I could. 5 acres for that. Wow. Fish with Bish, he wants to come on but won't get anything done. That's fine. I don't mind. We can sit here and do nothing for 3 hours. I haven't got an issue at all. Go for it, Bish. Live stream with me and you and Bish get it sorted. Irie saying, I don't think Monty would be hurt. I don't know what I'd be hurt by. Gregory Stewart, I'm new here. How are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Really appreciate your visit. I hope you're well. Just plant the gardens on top of flat hills. It's raised enough. Okay. So we've still got 19 watching. If anyone hasn't hit that like, please hit that like for me. But 35 grand for 5 acres, it doesn't sound bad. That doesn't sound bad at all. Especially where you are, it's warm down there as well. So Kelly lives in at the other end of the world to me. She lives in a place called Somerset, nice and warm.
I'd be worried about what their regulations are and what they would allow her to do. I understand the UK has got a lot of rules and regulations you've got to jump through to be able to do a whole lot of things.
Yeah, I think it might have just been agricultural land. You're not allowed to just build on agricultural land.
Right.
So that's the sad thing about here. But I mean, I'd just love a small, a house with a few acres. Absolutely no chance of building, only business agriculture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to spend on a piece of property that you can't just do what you want to do and grow the things you want to grow and do it the way you want to do it. That's a lot of money.
See, you can't do that here. You can't just you can't just build where you want to build. I mean, it does have some advantages because there was a period where there was a lot of rich businessmen just going out buying chunks of the countryside and building nice lavish houses at the expense of the rest of the ordinary people. But where it'll stop someone who wants an ordinary person who wants to live on a small what you'd call a homestead, a few acres of land, a house. Right. And live their lives, completely separate to everyone else. It does stop that kind of freedom. That's one of the big issues with that. But I do understand where it comes from, that they want to stop, those that can afford to just buying up chunks of the countryside and taking it away from everyone else.
Oh, absolutely.
My slice of heaven outdoors here. Thank you very much for coming in. Really appreciate it. We've got the Green Wizard on, talking about his book, talking about his portions, talking about how to increase soil fertility.
Yep, I think we wore them all out. I don't think they got any more questions for us. Or at least at this moment. I'm sure they will a half hour from now. Oh,
if anyone does have any questions,
take notes, everybody. I will be back. We will do another show together. Take notes, and if you got questions, hold them for the next show, and we'll answer them then.
No, that's the Wizard's Handbook. I was just trying to find the Green Wizard's Guide on Amazon UK. No, I can't find it. Okay, so there it is on the international page. There's the Green Wizard's Guide on Amazon. If anyone wants to grab it from there, it's available. What you can do is have a mobile or temporary dwelling on most land. Interesting. it's not just building on land. You can't always do alterations to an existing property. See that? Yeah, I think that's what
See it, Jesse.
happening, wasn't it? Because a lot of yuppies were buying up farms and barns, and then just converting them into a fancy house in the country. Rahman Raja, how's my garden? It's been suffering, with the weeks and weeks of rain that we've had. My garden is waterlogged at the moment. I've had to peel back a lot of the mulch to try and help the ground dry up. But because of the clay that I'm on, I fear that that ground will start turning into concrete if I don't get the mulch back on tomorrow. But I'm going to take the Green Wizard's advice and fork it tomorrow. So I'm going to fork my land tomorrow.
On that note, Tessie's out of here.
I better be careful the way I say that, yeah? Just put a grid here on some land. What?
Oh, a yurt. There you go.
Rachel Jane's allotment. Just put a grid here on some land. Can you say that again? I don't know what that means. Bish couldn't find something. I don't know what Bish. I don't know what you couldn't find. Just put off grid. Just put off grid.
We'll see you later, David.
David, thanks for coming in. We'll see you soon. I'm not following. Rachel, I'm not following.
Well, a yurt is like a tent, but it's actually got a wooden structure frame inside, and it just unfolds. You just open this thing up, and then put the covers over top of it. And people use them all year round. And it's not a permanent structure. It's just a gigantic tent. It's like putting up a teepee in a sense.
Okay. I didn't know what that was. I've never heard. I'm gonna have to look one of those up.
Oh yeah, they're incredible, absolutely incredible, and it wouldn't be considered a permanent structure.
So Bish is saying he's going to put up a tent in my back garden. You're very welcome to, mate. You're very welcome to. Maybe next year I was thinking of doing like a family garden barbecue, and then whoever wants to can come round for a barbecue. I think time's going to be a bit restricted this year. Off green means hide, they'll catch you. Hide till
they catch you. Yep.
I think people that with people wanting to move off grid, it does give you that freedom. It does give people that freedom, doesn't it? And that's one of the things that people can't. The governments can't control you once you one of the things about having big cities where you're available is they can control you. Or,
in essence, yeah.
So a year is a Mongolian style round tent. Okay. Our long-term plan is to buy a plot of land next to a canal so we can moor a narrowboat to live in and still have growing space.
There's a good idea.
That is a good idea. See, do you know, like, I'm a city lad, right? So I worry about things like hospitals, and I worry about things like not being able to get to the shops when I need to. That's my biggest fear about this kind of thing. Do you know, if I did end up in the country, I don't know what I'd do when I couldn't go to the shop at,
that's part of being self-reliant and learning all of these skills before you get out there so that you can do what you need to do. There's a lot of different weeds out there people call weeds that are actually very medicinal, and you can grow them or look for them. A lot of different plants out there that run wild that are edible. There's a whole lot to be said for living in the off-grid style and knowing and having this knowledge and being self-reliant and not having the need to run to the city and run to the local store to do whatever it is you need to do, right down to the medical.
So, it's that, I think the scary thing is that lack of knowledge. You know, that loss of knowledge
Right.
that a lot of people, especially like me, I mean, I consider myself. I know about my garden and growing veg, but if I wouldn't know about how to do any type of herbal medication, I wouldn't know anything about any of that kind of stuff. Um, Everyone thinks Kelly's idea is brilliant. Yes, definitely is. Bish wants to move in with his pet tadpoles. Kelly, where did you live before you lived in Somerset? So I really had to break down my house because I don't have permits. Well, you're in Hawaii, aren't you?
Yeah, I can see them being permit heavy.
We're not doing bad at all. We've been going for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we're starting to lose our numbers now. They're starting to drop off slow.
Yeah, but we had a decent audience in. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun. Um,
Near Bristol. I'm not looking at a map.
so Kelly used to live near Bristol before
North
that.
Somerset.
I was gonna say, do you know, like as soon as you pass, uh, yeah, that. Do you know when you say? I was gonna say Somerset. As soon as you get into the foot part of the UK, you know the part of the toes, it's all the same.
There you go, Bish. Take him out and teach him how to live in the wilderness.
See, I am very much a city boy, but I've got the heart of a country. You know, um, I've got the country mindset. I've got the country heart. But
Well, get out there and learn. It's amazing what nature can do and what nature can provide. She's been doing it for years, long before the chemical companies ever turned up.
yeah, yeah. Um,
And Homestead Tessie, she covers a lot of that stuff and covers the old world knowledge. Catch up with her channel. There's a wealth of knowledge there.
See, Frank's telling Bish to film it. I've always been a city girl, but moving here changed my life. It's been great to watch a lot of very nice people. Thanks, Bobby. Bobby, I really appreciate it, man. Um, we we've we've missed. Do you know, because we've had this. Do you know, like a day like today is a rarity in the UK, so everyone takes advantage of it. So I think a lot
Oh,
of people.
absolutely. I'd get out in the weather too.
Yeah. I mean, if I didn't have this live stream, I would have been outside. I would have been out. Um, yeah.
Well, that's the life of a YouTuber. You got to sacrifice a little bit.
But it's been enjoyable. It's been nice to catch up with you. It's been nice to talk to you face to face, and get some of what's inside your head.
Oh my God, there's so much you haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. I think we'll keep doing these. I think we'll keep doing these series. But I want some of you guys up here as well. Kelly, if you want to come up here, Rachel Jane's allotment. If you want to come up here, anyone who wants to come up here and showcase your channel, Ira Z. If you want to come up, anyone Bish, I think you're banned.
Huh?
Kelly's off. Take care. Have a great time. Have a great night. See you soon. Yeah, I think anyone. Yeah, I think you will. I think you should. You know, I think you should, and I think you should do it soon. It'd be hilarious. I think it'd be funny as anything. But I'd have to. Yeah, I'd have to think of some good questions for you though.
Oh, that's fine. You got plenty of time.
Um,
Like I said, get everybody together and get your questions together, and next time we do a show, we'll just do a Q&A instead of a show about the book, and just rattle off answers.
so, what are you normally doing when you're not on YouTube on live streams?
I am out in the sun as much as possible. I am barefoot and in the yard cutting grass and just kind of hanging out, thinking about the next book. That's kind of my world right now. Has been for 2 years.
Shubs has just turned up. Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you very much for coming in. We've had a special show today. We've had the Green Wizard on, who's been talking about soil fertility, soil, building soil life and giving life to that soil food web. And he's been talking about his book as well. Let me stick that up there. If anyone wants to check his Amazon link out there, there's the book on Amazon. Frank built his new grow house today, but my wife bought me lots more seedlings next year. That's awesome, Frank. Have you got a glass one? Because you said you got a wooden one, didn't you? Is it glass or is it plastic?
That's what dogs are for, Rachel.
What are dogs for? I'd love to be barefoot. Need to go get rid of the stray cats first.
You found out about that in your garden.
Yeah,
we won't discuss that again. But yeah,
you don't want to do what I did. You don't want to do what I did. Yeah. See, I'm normally always gloved up. I've always got gloves on, but this one occasion, I don't know why. I must have been feeling brave or something that I stuck my hands in there and nice squelch.
well, things happen. You live and learn. You'll keep your gloves handy the next time.
So Frank, what's your new greenhouse looking like? Are we going to get some pictures soon?
Well, my friend, it has been fun. I'm hearing that noise in the other room saying that I think I missed dinner. And I should probably step away, but it has been great fun. I'd love to do this again. So anytime you're ready, I'm ready and I'm available. I appreciate you having me on, my friend.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you very much for spending some time with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, really do appreciate it.
Hey,
I think,
anytime.
yeah.
Anytime.
I think,
like I said, get your questions together and we'll just do a Q&A the next time around.
Okay.
So we'll see everybody. Thanks everybody for following me over. Thanks everybody for hanging out all this time. Appreciate your help, Bobby. We'll see everybody. I'm out.
Take care. So, guys, you're left with just me. Frank is saying he's got his greenhouse that's wood and plastic, pictures to follow tomorrow. Awesome. Thanks, Mr. Wizard. Did you enjoy your single day of summer? Well, to be honest with you, no, I didn't, because I had to go and visit. I had to go to Sheffield and visit people there. So yeah, my whole day was spent traveling. So no, I didn't enjoy my single day of summer. But I did enjoy this live stream. I really did enjoy this live stream. It's really been a lot of fun. Frank is gloves. You get big girls blouse. Cheers, Green Wizard, GW Green Wizard. It's hot tomorrow too. Rachel, that's awesome. I think it's not going to be as hot. I think the temperature was, they were saying it's going to be 31 today, and then it's going to drop down to about 21 tomorrow. So yeah, I don't. You know, this heat, it really does. It really, for me, for my body, it really does me good, especially when the sun's out. It does really help me, because when it's cold, it just really hurts. You know, even my bones hurt. So I really struggle in the cold. My bones, my spine just seizes up, and it really just aches. Yeah, I don't like the cold. Frank's at work until 4. Have you had a day off recently, Frank? Because Frank's at work all the time now. So much for his part-time job. He's running the place now. Mahmoud's day was spent traveling and waiting for his family to finish shopping, so his was worse. 41 likes, that's not bad at all. That's not bad. We've got 4 dislikes. I'm not sure who was leaving all the dislikes, but fine. We can live with that. Well, I better run to my place. So great, Bobby. Thanks for sticking around, mate, for so long. Really appreciate it. Yeah. That's fine, Mahmoud. You disliked. I think everyone here. Yeah. What else have we got? Getting old. No. I've got some issues with my spine. I damaged my spine when I was 22. So for the last sort of 15 years ish, I've been struggling with spine problems with my spine, and that's had knock-on effects on to other parts of my bodies, like my knees and my arms, where yeah, I've got arthritis in my hands, and I've had it from a very young age. But yeah, I think getting old is in there as well. So Frank's day off was today. How many days are you working at the moment, Frank? Grit Cheatham hasn't been in for ages. Does anyone see Grit about? Let's see who's here. So I don't dislike anyone. Mahmoud is putting up a picture of, I don't know what that is. I can't see it. I thought it was a turd at the looking. I thought it was a turd to start off with, but I don't know what it is now. But it's green. So Frank works 5 days a week. It says 7 people watching. I can't see 17 people commenting. Birmingham Skies is here. A bone. No, he's put a green picture of something up. I thought it looked like. Is it? It's a snake. Is that what it is? Gee.
It's a bit scary downstairs, you know, because if all of the lights are off.
Why don't you turn one on?
They're not letting us. Because it's too hot. And I'm cold.
See, Fish with Bish is saying even though he's got back issues, he can still pick up a slab
Where?
of cake.
Where?
You should be asleep, sweetheart. Nearly got me there. So it wasn't a snake, it wasn't a turd, it was a dragon. Okay.
Where's dragon? Where's dragon?
Birmingham skies high in my part of the world. Yeah.
That's not how you spell Birmingham.
It is.
No.
It is.
I don't know.
That is how you spell it.
Yes, Bish.
So, okay. I wouldn't make a mod. I don't hate.
But Baba, it's all dark and then I'm scared.
Go and turn a light on then.
They won't now.
Who won't let you?
Dad, do because it's too hot and cold and freezing.
Is it? Well, go on, get back to bed before you get into trouble. Go on.
Freezing.
What came first, the slab of cake or the back issues? I think the slab of cake habit's always been there. You've seen the size of my belly. You can tell that the slab of cake's been one of my addictions from a very young age. Yeah, it's not been bad, has it? Okay, so we're coming up to the 3-hour mark, and that's normally where we end this thing, isn't it? Chocolate, concrete, and custard. Have you found some land? Yeah, see, Pickering's a bit too far. What do you think? It's a bit too far north. I wouldn't mind moving a bit further south, but I don't want to move any further north. But to be honest with you, I don't want to move out. I don't want to move out of Leeds. I've got a nice setup in Leeds. There's nothing too close to Leeds. See, there was some land a couple of years ago. There was some land up near Golden Acre Park. Some pretty decent agricultural land, but again, it was selling for about 4 or 5 grand an acre. So it was just ridiculous. Land price is just ridiculous. But it was strictly agricultural land, and that's the problem. But it was right next to Golden Acre Park. Yeah, I don't think we can. I don't think we can buy something in Shadwell. Shadwell's a bit too rich for our blood. Maybe when you're a doctor, you can buy something in Shadwell for us. Bish, I keep meaning to say, do you know, like your live streams on a Friday night? I really feel bad because I'm never near. I'm never in your live streams for very long because I teach on a Friday night from 9 till 11, and so I'm never home. So I deliberately went to class late yesterday because I wanted to stick in your live stream for a few minutes. So yeah, I'm sorry about that, mate. For us, have you come all communist all of a sudden? No, I was just thinking you're going to buy a farm for me when you're a doctor and rich and famous. It's not much of a communist. It's more Pickering near the zoo, free elephant poo. What can you? Elephant poo? Is that good? Bish is off now. He's got to be up early to film. Bish, take care, man. And I'll see you soon. Thanks, mate. I've got to get Brian. I've got to get in with Patty about next. I've got to get in touch with Patty about next Sunday. Sorry, next Saturday. And Bish, did you get my messages on Twitter? So we'll see. Because I hadn't seen her on YouTube for ages. Patricia from Sow and Grow. I hadn't seen her on YouTube for ages, so I'm gonna message her on Instagram about next Saturday. And My Family Garden Travels is coming out soon. On my little bit, Lindsay's back. You're still going. Yeah, we're still going. Birmingham Skies is off. Thanks very much for coming in. We'll see you soon. Really appreciate your visit. If anyone hasn't hit that like for me, please hit that like. We've got one more dislike. Fantastic. So we're at 5 dislikes now. Do I follow sports? Not anymore. I used to. When I was a kid, I used to follow a lot of football, and I used to box. But since then, since I hurt my back, I don't follow or do much sports anymore. Don't worry, that's why I do it. You're too disruptive. Elephant poo is no good. You need a JCB to bury it. Sports is rubbish. Yeah, I turned you blue a while ago. Homegrown veg is best. Sports is rubbish. Homegrown vote. Linz, when you back from your jet setting? I saw your video of the thunderstorm and lightning. We had a bit of that not so long ago. I was hoping it'd calm everything down, but yeah. I've got the first time ever. I got a really good. I've had some. One of my videos has hit 3,000 views. I've never had a video do that before. It's been absolutely. I'm over the moon by it. I've had a video hit 3,000 views. That's amazing. I've never done that before. I was whinging to Kelly not so long ago that my videos weren't getting watched as much, and recently things seem to have turned around. But what I've done is I've stopped going into live streams and trying to win subscribers that way. I've just focused on putting out a lot of videos and sharing it on as much social media as possible. And since I've started doing that, I've picked up I'm picking up a lot more. I'm not picking up a lot more, but I'm picking up regular subscribers, and I'm not losing subscribers the day after. So if anyone wants to try that as a little tip, it's worth it. We just stayed at the pool while it was raining, but then thunder and lightning started to move back indoors. What time is it over there now? And I'm not far from monetization either. I'll tell you. You know, I'm about 800 hours away from my 4,000 hour goal. So if anyone wants to run a playlist for me, that'd be awesome. Mine have died, but I'm guessing the holiday video are different to my usual stuff. What's died? So it's 6 p.m. there. So it's right, guys. It's hit that 11 o'clock hour. Brian, I need a way. To get in touch with you, apart from on YouTube. Are you on Instagram? How far away? I'll run some playlists in the background. I'm at as we speak. I'm at 800 hours away. So I'm at 800 hours away. So I'm hoping to finish those 800 hours off by the end of July. I want to get those 800 hours done. I've not done bad this month in my watch time. Without anyone running playlists for me, I've managed to hit 74,000 minutes of watch time. So Mahmoud, what's 74,000 minutes in watch time? So that's 1,200 hours in a month. Sorry, buffering here. You want to talk to me? Send me a private message and face that. Cool, will do. Yeah, I'm at 3,000. Me allotment. Eh? Me allotment. I'm not interested in monetization. My email is on my homepage under about. Okay, Bri. Right, I'll drop you an email because Saturday we're going to be ripping up your allotment. I'm going out on travels again next Saturday, guys. So yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah. Right. Okay, guys. I think look, it's past 11 o'clock. You guys, I've kept most of you here for a long time. Thank you very much for hanging out. Really appreciate it. Ira, is nomadic bike alive? Is nomadic not alive? Is nomadic bike live? If he's live, or if anyone knows someone we can raid, should we raid into someone? Let's see who's live. None of them. I don't want to raid any of them. I've got a different place to raid today. Rahman Raja, assalamu alaikum. Have a great night. We'll see you soon. Everyone's on the way out. Okay, if anyone wants to raid, here's a channel that we can raid into. It's someone that a lot of you might not know. My Cry for Help. He's a good guy. He's a homesteading type channel. Funny as well. So if anyone wants to raid with me, raid into that channel. We'll go and see over there. I'll see you guys over there. Whoever wants to come with me. So I'm gonna. If anyone's coming, there you go. There's the link. So join me over there, and I'll see you all guys. I'll see everyone soon. I'm gonna end it here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That's not how you end it, is it? How'd you end this thing?